my song. Let's sing it. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Come on, it's gonna be fucking awesome. You know the words. It's gonna be fucking awesome. That's it, sing. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Yeah!
Hello, my friends. Happy Saturday. It is I, Jesse Blaze Snyder, the coolest man alive. You are listening to Coolest Alive, and I plans to be a doozy for you today. I've been talking about my desire to rebuild the monoculture, and I just kind of thought, well, like, what's the fastest way to do that? And, like, in theory, it's like, one long conversation where you show all of your cards, all the things you love, you share everything. It's like that getting to know you conversation that you might have with a good friend, and or a new friend who's becoming a friend, and you just oh yeah, you like wrestling, or you like, oh, what do you like? Okay, all right, I like that. Oh yeah, oh cool, and then you go home and you're like, oh yeah, I met this guy and we got a lot of the same interests, right? And what's that? That's a little personal monoculture between people. Me and my father have a monoculture that the rest of the family, the Snyder family, don't exactly share. They're just not as well versed in some of the quotes from these films. And, my father was on the road with a big trunk full of VHS films. And he would watch these movies, these comedy movies with his bands while he was touring over and over and over again. He didn't do drugs, and he was watching movies on the road with the band. And in order to be able to be versatile at quoting all of these great comedies, you had to watch them a lot, and I watched them a lot. And that's today. That's one of those things that we're going to talk about, or I guess, like, I'm just going to start this conversation. I didn't premeditate this too much because for me it's just like sharing with a friend. Here's all the stuff that I love. But I thought, like, I would just, like, tell you kind of how I developed as a kid. What my initial loves were, and, like, how my loves grew from there. And a lot of them stem from my parents and whatnot. One being my father and his love of comedy, which was instilled in him by his father, who had a great love of comedy. And, he instilled it in me even more so. I was watching Mel Brooks, all the Mel Brooks movies that I could get my hands on, and every Monty Python movie. Loved Monty Python, and Flying Circus. Eventually I would get into British comedies from there, like Fawlty Towers, which is a favorite of mine. I'm trying to think some of the other major comedies, like, from this era, like Blues Brothers. He had made a VHS copy of Animal House that on TV, so it had no tits, and it was slightly edited for a general audience. So comedy movies were a huge one for me as a young person, and I have lists that I've made of, like, future episodes and episodes that we've already done, which I'm going to go through some of those things as well, because I record this show to make it really evergreen. So if you go back and listen to anything, generally speaking, I'm always talking about a concept, that is a problem within a thing, So everything is sort of worthwhile. There's a Rotten Tomatoes episode that I have that is tragically under-listened to, that just breaks down all the fucking truth behind stupid Rotten Tomatoes, which is a ridiculous system. But go, if you scan back through, and I'm going to go through some of them in a little bit, like, there's just a lot of episodes that are evergreen for you to go check out. I'm going to be talking about some of these things that I love today, and then I'm going to be able to point you back to, and here's an episode of me talking at length about that thing that I love. So we'll get to that later. But my dad got me into comedy, and I loved comedy so much that I would literally I would watch a half of a movie. I would wake up an hour earlier than I had to before school, and I would start a movie, and then the next day I would finish it. And I would do this every morning before school. This was like my private time. I just would get up a little early, and I had the house to myself, and I would watch a movie, and I was just always just studying comedy like crazy because I wanted to be a comedian secretly, but I didn't tell anybody. And my father was actually good friends with a man named Bobcat Goldthwait. And I would find the Bobcat Goldthwait cassette tape of his stand-up, and hearing about various great stand-up people over the years and being told about different people, I eventually got into stand-up in a big way. And there's so many different stand-up comedians that I love and like have watched their material, from Mitch Hedberg and Dane Hall and George Carlin and Steve Martin. And I told you Bobcat Goldthwait is, I love Bobcat. Eddie Izzard is one of the people that I just spoke about recently. He's one of my favorite comedians of all time. Love Eddie. Eddie Murphy, of course, classic people like Richard Pryor. And, I never really got into Andrew Dice Clay. I never really got into Bill Hicks. I generally like more uplifting sorts of comedy. I like Chappelle. I fucking don't really care for a lot of black comedians who do the black people like this, white people like that. I just hate things that divide us. I like things that bring us together and show us how similar we are and how we're looking at it wrong, not things about that like reinforce stupid stereotypes and shit like that. That's not my favorite. But I have so many comedians that I love, and I'm going to try to break them out. I have Bobcat on my list of some stand up spots that I'm going to point some people to. But I mean, I watch comedy all the time, so there's so many people that I have watched. I really like Jeff Dye right now. He's seems to be slightly divisive, I guess, amongst people, but I think he's very charming, and I think he has a lot to offer, a lot of good insights. But there are so many wonderful comedians and comedy just in general. I have been studying, my whole life. I did a whole episode on Living Color. I love that show. Really good sketch comedy is awesome as well. I love Key and Peele and stuff like that. And this all, stems from my father's, love of comedy that he instilled in me. And he instilled a lot of other things in me, but I want to kind of walk it back to the early days of comedy from Dad, which is even like maybe a step later, because I as a little kid, it was firstly music, because he was a musician. So there was basically MTV was on in my house all the time, because my dad was only there for like maybe 2 or 3 months of the first year of my life. It's maybe the same thing with like the second year of my life. But MTV was on because my dad was on MTV. His video was. So my mom would leave it running, and when she would, when he would be on TV, mommy would, be like, "Yeah, his daddy's on TV." Like you run in, "Oh yeah, his daddy's on TV." And there was like a little commercial that was running all the time where he would be on, and occasionally they would play his videos. And it, certainly made music a big deal for me. And I was being exposed to a lot of different music that was on at the time, not just, heavy metal or whatever. And most of what was played on MTV was much more popular music. So, I was, as a young boy, whether I knew it or not, I was a big Beastie Boys fan, and I was a big, Genesis and Peter Gabriel fan, and there's lots of different bands that like had kind of imprinted on me at the time with one song or another that eventually I would come around to to get with from that 80s time, but not 80s bands. And generally speaking, people tend to mistake this about me. I don't like 80s bands. I'm not really into 80s music. As an era, I think that Twisted Sister is very respectable compared to the fucking people that they were playing around, for Motley Crue and Poison, and these guys have a song or two that I like or whatever, but just everything that they represent, I just don't care to represent. I love sex, I love intimacy, but I don't believe in it as like a throwaway lifestyle kind of thing. I think it's sacred and important and should be respected and cool. And that's not even not to say that I don't believe in free love or something like that, because I am open to ideas like that, but at the same time, only in a context where people are that sexuality and people are being respected for the gift that they're giving to each other, in physicality. I really think that people in general don't have enough respect for intimacy, and it deserves more respect. And so I don't like that kind of aspect of the excesses of the stuff that my father's music genre is associated with. Twisted Sister is not like that at all. And Twisted Sister's music, if you're a person who's not into 80s stuff, because get into Twisted, get into Twisted, get into my dad's Widowmaker and Desperado. I've done some stuff with that. I have another podcast called All Your Favorite Bands Suck, where I've done, usually it's like an hour, sometimes 45 minutes or whatever, but just covering the entire album catalog of a band, focusing on 3 albums that are my favorite and playing a bunch of songs and stuff. And just like all my favorite bands is All Your Favorite Bands Suck. It's 53 of my favorite bands. I'm going to be adding to it soon. I'm doing a new Black Keys episode coming up. Yeah. I don't really care for that shit. Twisted Sister is inspired more by 70s bands. A little bit of Kiss, but Kiss is another band that I don't fucking respect at all because their music is... They just wanted to get girls and make money. And again, I have a high respect for intimacy. And for me, it's not about money. It's about respect. And it's about doing something worth passing on, worth continuing, worth remembering. I've written a shitload of songs. I believe they're all worth remembering. I really do. Go, look into my catalog. Even though a lot of it now is only available through our website at blacklightdistrict.studio. Pretty much my whole catalog is going to be kind of sequestered over there. Pretty soon, though, we're going to have like an app and stuff where you basically be able to play Blacklight District radio, and it'll be, my old band and various bands and projects and stuff. And soon, some of these bands that these people that I don't want to even say producing, but helping to get their work out there, because these people are people that I believe in, that I'm just gonna set them up and get out of their way, because they're wonderful. So I don't want to take too much credit as like I'm not a producer. I just have good taste, and I'm gonna I am a producer, but in this case it's not gonna be I'm a producer. It's gonna be me going, you work with him, have fun, I'll release it. And we'll make money. Woohoo! That's how good shit's done. It's you know what you're doing. You can be the person who does it, but you know that this person knows what they're doing. This person knows what they're doing. Those people can get it done. There you go. Now trust them to do it. And then when they come back, try to give good feedback. Yeah, and I don't mean be positive, entirely. I mean, try to be a part of the process as you're needed to be a part of the process, and not getting in the way of hiring wonderful, brilliant people and then fucking up, their brilliance, which is so often just everywhere. That's how it always happens. So, my whole business is just about trying to, get around some of these things. Anyway, I love 70s music. And one of the things that my mother was providing me with was a love of that 70s music, not because she's a particularly big music fan. She doesn't give a shit about music for the most part. She's always been focused on art, but she loved The Muppet Show. And I love the fucking Muppet Show. The Muppet Show is my favorite thing ever. That is the thing that defines me the most. I am a Kermit the Frog avatar, hanging out on planet Earth, surrounded by a bunch of weirdos. But I believe they all have something to offer. And I'd like to see them get the opportunity to shine on stage for just a second. And I think they all deserve it. And I got some things that I'd like to share too. But that's me. I really love people. I'm kind of chatty. That's one of the reasons why I don't do an interview type show, because I've always been mistaken of well, not mistaken, because I am talking too much. I can't help it though. But for sort of rudeness of talking too much. Generally speaking, I'll fight for the microphone, and people who will fight for the microphone with me, we have great relationships, no problems at all. Shout out Aaron Sparrow. Love you, brother. There are people who are willing to, go back and forth, and, and I always sort of operate under the well, if they want to talk, they'll talk. And I'm sort of more operating under, I'm so excited to talk to them. And if I like you, if I'm not engaged with you, I'll probably be pretty quiet. If I don't like small talk. So I have to find monoculture ways in order to communicate with people. I have to feel comfortable with them, that find some sort of level playing ground. But if I do, I'll chat a lot. So I've been accused over the years of just talking too much, and I hate that. I hate that because I'm not doing it on purpose, and I like people, and I don't like that that I'm giving people that impression. I've gotten better and better at asking questions and trying to do things that make other people think you're listening, because like I hear everything. I'm overstimulated all the time. So it's just kind of crazy when people like think I'm not listening because I'm not like looking them directly in the eye. But I always tell people like, don't make me look you directly in the eye. I'm going to just start like looking at your eyebrows and looking at your nose. like I'm just not going to be able to help but sort of take in the information that I'm seeing. So often it's easier for me to kind of multitask and like do things and listen, and people are like, you're listening back? Yes. In fact, I heard it. Do you want me to repeat the entire thing that you say? I can repeat it. I really like, I'm a very good listener, but like, again, people mistakes. Like, so certain things about my personality and like who I am, it's lent me more to doing the podcast. I love doing the podcast. I'm just on my microphone, I'm in my room here. It doesn't really matter like where I fucking am, like I can just get on the mic and I can talk to you, and I'm comfortable doing that, because I love everybody, and so I can imagine a person that I would love, because, granted, there are people that I prefer less and people that I'm less comfortable with, and I am a little shy on some levels, but at my heart, I'm just a lover. And so it is easy for me to get on the mic here and do this thing. But if I started interviewing people, I just know that the comments would start coming, especially the people who hadn't gotten to know me, and they'd just be like, "Well, this person shut up and let his guest speak," or something. I'm bad at that, because I get excited and I want to talk about something, and so I avoid doing that for the most part, because I don't want people to get the wrong idea about me, and they tend to get the wrong idea about me when they see me in these interview settings sometimes, even though I've gotten a lot better than I used to be, and it's so funny because it's like, I can't win. I'm a big personality, and I do talk a lot, and I have things to say, and things to say that I'm not hearing. And like that's why you get into the conversation, because I feel like I'm not hearing the things that I would like to hear said. So forgive me for that. If I have a sin and an arrogance, it is that I feel like there are things that could be said that are not being said, and I would like to hear them said. So here I go, saying the things. And one of the things is saying, we got to rebuild this monoculture, man. And, one of the best things that you can do if you want to like be part of the monoculture with me is get into the fucking Muppet Show. The original Muppet Show is free, all 5 seasons. I mean, I think there's a couple episodes missing and a couple things going on there, but it's up on Disney Plus, and I love it. There's aspects of it that probably don't hold up as well anymore as they did, but still, overall, if you can get yourself through it, there are so many fucking markers of brilliance along the way. It won't be that hard. There may be some things that don't land the same way as they did, but the ultimate thing of like the Muppet Show is just all of these guys who just, they have this passion for something, but they're not very good at it, but they're allowed to do their thing. And their thing always sort of devolves, it falls apart. Piggy is a literal pig. She doesn't deserve to be an actress. She's a terrible actress. She's a terrible singer. She's a terrible dancer. She's not good at what she does. She's glamorous and pig-headed and self-righteous, but she doesn't have the goods. Fozzie's not a very good comedian. He wants to be very, very funny, but he's just not. Gonzo, every time he tries to go do anything, he just blows up the stage, sets everything on fire. This a typical Gonzo performance. The Electric Mayhem generally can't get through a performance without Animal tearing apart the drum set. They're arguably one of the most successful members of the group. Wayne and Wanda, their classic sketch, never lasts more than about 10 seconds. It's the whole premise of the Muppets is that they can't exactly get it right. And Deadpool is the reason why Deadpool is so beloved and so awesome is because whether Joe Kelly, the writer who really brought Deadpool into fruition, and we'll get into comics and how I got into my love of comics in a second, but he really made Deadpool into a Muppet. He was a character that wanted something. He wanted to be better than he was. He was bad, and he knew he was bad, and he'd been worse, but he was sort of like coming out of being bad and kind of going, I kind of suck. I could be better, maybe. I'd like to be better. But he doesn't exactly know how to be better. And no matter how hard he tries to be better, he always seems to kind of fuck it up. And that's the heart of Deadpool, the character in the comics. If you ever get a chance to read any of the great ones, he's just this classic fuck up. He's a Muppet. Ah, yeah, Muppet. I mean, the Britons, they really boiled it down with their slang, calling people a Muppet. What does it mean when you're calling somebody a Muppet? They just can't get it right. Oh, yeah, fucking Muppet. You'll hear Gordon Ramsay. I'm watching Hell's Kitchen. I love Gordon Ramsay. There's so many things I love. Don't judge me for my few reality show enjoyments. I love myself some Gordon Ramsay. But he's, you Muppet. He always uses it when they can't get it right. I really think that the Muppets are just like this glorious metaphor, for creative people, because we all have something that we want to do, but most of us are terrified that we're a Muppet and we can't get it right. But if you watch the Muppets, there's this wonderful moment where you kind of go, well, Fozzie's getting up there and he sucks. I'm better than Fozzie. I'm not so bad. It's funny. But I believe in that. And I've worked on the Muppets. I did a Muppet fairy tale comic, Muppet Snow White, which unfortunately, it's still one of the better Muppet things that they've done. But, oh my God. The fucking notes, man. It's like when you see the creative red tape that is going on behind the scenes, the person who represents, and I won't throw him under the bus, but the person who represents the fucking Hensons, like their Muppet, the Muppet person, he was giving me fucking Sesame Street notes. I swear to God. And if you understand the difference between what Sesame Street is and what the Muppets is, let's talk about monoculture here. Sesame Street was, public access for kids. Teach them whatnot. The Muppets was a show, prime time, directed at adults, but kids could watch it as well. That is a very distinct line. It's directed at adults, but kids could watch it as well. When I did the Muppet Snow White comic book, I knew that was an exception. That was a directed at kids, but adults could enjoy it as well, because mostly I knew that a lot of parents were going to end up buying this to read to their children. And I wrote a script that was very brisk. Well, it was great. It was light on comedy, but let the images speak for themselves in a lot of ways as often as possible. And they made us add a fucking joke to every panel. Ruin the pacing. Made it a chore for parents who are with their kids reading a book, and then the kid's tearing at the pages and he's trying to turn the page, that's what your kids do when they get bored. So I had written something with kids in mind, so I knew that a kid could get through it and it would really be an enjoyable experience. And when I got my notes, there was one of these things where they were making fun of Scooter, something that they've done plenty of times at various times in the fucking Muppet TV show for fucking forever. And they made me write this Magoo kind of, shucks, Scooter, instead of him being thrown out because he was fine. It was a role that he was playing. And they were like, you're being mean to Scooter. Since when can't the Muppets be mean to each other occasionally? That happens. These sort of weird notes. They wanted whoopee cushions and rubber chickens drawn in the back of the panels, on the first page. Because I tried to make it very. I just did a romantic version of the opening, a very distilled version of the Grimm's fairy tale Snow White. It's beautiful. One of the most beautiful things I've ever written, and they wanted to fuck it up. It was supposed to be a stained glass window of a pig. And this little story plays out over it. And they turned it into multiple panels. And there was a ton of things that they did to change this thing. I managed to wrangle a bunch of these things together. I knew that at a certain point in time they were going to fucking lose interest, basically. And they weren't going to fucking notice if a couple of these things got changed. And I just changed them. And Aaron, I later told Aaron that. And Aaron said, yeah, I saw. Aaron was my main editor. I didn't have very many notes from Aaron. Aaron recognized that it was great. The tone was great. It was a certain feel. It was not as heavy and busy as so many of the other ones that they had done, based on the various licensing notes they got. It started off very slight, and then it got oof. They just I almost worked on the TV show for the Muppets, the Muppets TV show. I spent 5 years trying to get in touch with Bill Beretta. I finally did. He and I sat down, and basically he told me he was going to try to get me on the writing staff. And before I was even able to sort of like audition or anything, even though like I was notified that that there was a show happening or whatever else, but I was told then that they weren't bringing in any outside writers. The guy who was the showrunner for Modern Family was bringing in people that he'd worked with before, so that was that. And there was no I kind of just like I felt like I was going to be dealing with the same issues, and I didn't know how to directly try to get after the fucking Muppets or whatever, and I just kind of gave up like a dickhole. But I mean, that was, I knew what I was up against, and but the Muppets, man, if you're out there and you're a Muppets fan and you're sitting there going, oh my God, the Muppets, dude, me and you, we're like this, the Muppets. I love the Muppets. If you really want to be like this with me, watch the Muppets. Get into Jim Henson. Jim was a great guy. He was a good man. And, just his family has really honored his legacy. And the Muppet films are great, and Fraggle Rock is great, and The Labyrinth is great, and Dark Crystal is great, and the new Dark Crystal that they did on Netflix was fucking incredible. Go check that out. Holy shit. Great. I love the Muppets, and I'm a big fan of everybody who comes out of there, from Frank Oz and Dave Goles and musical people, and just so many different people involved with Jim and everything that he did. He's like my biggest fandom. He's my idol, Jim Henson. Probably close second would be one of my other favorite movies. My favorite movie of all time and my favorite book of all time, period, is The Princess Bride by William Goldman. Love William Goldman. He's a brilliant writer. He's written lots of books on writing. He's written lots of books. He's written lots of films. He's famous for lovingly adapting unadaptable novels. All this fucking bullshit. It's always fucking possible to adapt this shit. You just got to do it with love. And William Goldman was like, Stephen King loved having him adapt his shit because he felt like he actually honored the material, and that's the thing, about adaptation, and comic books in particular. That's the world that I come from, where I wanted to honor all of these great mythological legacies that have been created, and so much of that is just the higher ups just don't give a shit, and just stupid things are done instead, and it's all very superficial and lame. But we'll get to some of those things in a second. Let's see. So we've talked about music. We've talked about the Muppet Show now. That's my mom's big contribution to my upbringing, was the Muppet Show. She's not like a real super hobby driven person. She's an artist. Was a fine artist, and in my house, I'm in this room right now, this meditation room, which is like an extra guest room at my family's mansion. We have this, like, it's a big family. My brothers have their place that they pay for, and my other brother has their place that they pay for. So there's multiple families all living in one place, but like taking care of a larger place, so that we have a shared space for Christmas. That's why I'm here right now for Christmas, and about to take some time off. I'm excited. And oh my God, my mom, granted, a lot of this is some people executing her work, but she fucking redoes this stuff, executing the work that she set forth for them to do. But it's beautiful. I mean, here, there's all these my lighting, they all look like ancient candles. It's actually light bulbs, but there's like candles on the wall. It's all like, I don't know if you call it stucco painting, where it's like sponge. It's beautiful. Right. So my mom is a fine artist. She's an incredible makeup artist, hairdresser, fashion designer. She had an open offer to design for Betsy Johnson. She's the one who designed all Twisted Sisters costumes. The reason why Twisted Sisters as big as they were is because of the makeup, the costumes. And that was my mom. She was the one who ultimately decked them all out and turned them into these monstrous Power Rangers. She's like the secret sauce in my dad's life in a lot of ways. He's incredible himself, but he would credit my mom with a lot of greatness being amplified to many degrees. And my dad was like one of those guys who was overexposed, and he was overexposed at the time because he had the best look, because my mom. My mom gave Twisted Sister. They go look at pictures of fucking Poison and Motley Crue and then Twisted Sister. It was way more, closer to like a Kiss kind of thing, and like, just way more theatrical and cool. So that was really my mommy's contribution to my life, her love of the Muppet Show and puzzles and doing artwork and things like that. So that that's a big part. But then my dad, who I was on a lot of levels kind of estranged from. When I was younger, he was really kind of nasty to me. His dad was nasty to him. He was gone all the time, and then he would like come home and like he wouldn't like the way my mom was raising me, kind of thing, and he would kind of like snap at me. So it's okay. He's a great dad ultimately, and like we've gotten over all this shit. Like it's no big deal, but I'm just trying to like explain some like dynamics. So like he was larger than life, and he would kind of come home and like scare me, and so because of that, I kind of like started like kind of figuring out like quietly how I could like befriend him, kind of thing. Like very motivated by being his friend. And it's funny, my father did mushrooms recently, and he had basically the spirit of the mushrooms telling him that he adored his father, and his father was his disciplinarian, and it created these weird rifts in their relationship that my dad's only just kind of gotten over with him and his father have a very good relationship now. And so seeing that, and he like understood that completely, and then they went, and Jesse, you're his hero, and you're his disciplinarian. And look, and it just tends to make it a little bit weird in some levels. And then like when it came my brothers and stuff, like he was much softer with them because he was around when they were born. Like it was a much more tumultuous time when I was first born and that stuff, and in their lives and so many different things. So so I really just clung to on some level. Wanting to bond with my father through the monoculture, through all the culture that he was imbibing. And to this day, he and I have a wonderful relationship through the monoculture in particular, especially talking about movies, watching movies. I think I just we reviewed Shin Godzilla the other day when I was here just a couple weeks ago. He and I were watching Shin Godzilla. We love Godzilla. Godzilla is a fucking passion of mine from my dad. VHSs of Godzilla versus Kong and some of those things I definitely enjoyed. God, even those movies, I like those fucking Godzilla movies. Fucking people in suits and shit. I was so excited when they brought Godzilla to America. I was so bummed out when I saw that movie with fucking Matthew Broderick. I was like, that's not fucking Godzilla. It's like some iguana monster or something. I fucking disappointed in that shit. Disappointed. You know what? I will say one more thing that I guess is maybe a product of my mom. She got me action figures, specifically Masters of the Universe. I love Masters of the Universe. That's another favorite, like early, just very, very early thing for me. But the artists who, did the designs or inspired the works and just so many interesting things. Masters of the Universe is one of those things like wrestling, where like the behind the scenes in wrestling is often way more interesting than the actual stuff itself. At face value, some of it, seems silly, but mixed within that is a lot of real brilliance and really cool designs and really interesting ideas, and where it all came from and how it all got made, and the amazing collection of brilliant artists who were working on designs for these things and under various restrictions, and it's just very, very interesting subject. Those of you who are Masters of the Universe fans out there going like, well, fuck yeah, if you're a Masters of the Universe fan, me and you just went, fuck yeah, man, Masters of the Universe, fuck yeah, yeah, I'm with you. So to finish, I guess music would be a good one to go with. Well, actually, and I guess while we're saying this, I'll say from Masters of the Universe, my brothers and I were all into Ninja Turtles. I love Ninja Turtles. The original cartoon, the original film. Then it went to, I was into... we were all into Power Rangers. I didn't really watch the show that much. I would watch it just a little bit. I liked the fights, and I liked the robots, and I liked the basic designs of the Rangers and shit. And when the Green Ranger came on, I loved the Green Ranger, who I later became friends with. Rest his soul. God rest his soul. Jason David Frank, who was a friend of mine for a bunch of years before he passed. I was a fan of that show because of Jason and because I was into the Pink Ranger. I had long hair. I felt a little bit like an outcast in school on some level, and I the way he made me feel being like such a badass in Power Rangers, like I love that. So that was a big one for me. So I'm gonna talk about what la, 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 la. Music, I guess. And I guess I'll just say to wrap up the toy, because toys are a thing for me, and like I've had a massive toy collection. I actually, my toy collection burnt down twice. Don't ask; it's a fucking long story, but whatever. I lost all of my shit, and I had probably the largest collection of 6-inch scaled individual characters and a city, like a New York City that I made in 6-inch scale that I'd been building for years. It was made of lots of like buildings that they'd made that were like close enough in scale, and then buildings that I made out of boxes and garbage that I made, and things that I've been collecting from various toys that I'm a huge toy guy. I love craftspeople, love craftsmen, huge Four Horsemen guy. For those of you who are sculptor guys out there and you like toys and like, independent toys, and I love that shit. I'm a huge toy guy. My best friend Aaron Sparrow, he's got a little company himself where he does toys. One of my other best friends, Digger Mesh, he owned Art Asylum, who made all those great music related toys, and the Silent Screamers and Space Ghost, and he's made so many great fucking toys over the years. He's one of my best friends because he's one of the most wonderful people on the planet, but also he's one of the people I respect the most on the planet. Very nice that he's one of my partners and somebody who respects me, the same, which is just fucking insane. When one of your heroes calls you brilliant, you're like, that's really cool. Thank you, Digger. I love you. No, it's like an honor. Like I just like, it means so much to me. And Aaron, it's just like I work with such wonderful people. I hope when we launch this Sugar and Bones magazine Kickstarter in a little bit, I was shooting for the end of January. It's probably going to be more like mid-February, but it's going to be awesome. And they're involved with it. They've all got shorts in the book, but they're involved deeper than that. And I just want to put these motherfuckers to work for the rest of their lives doing what they do best, making shit. So there's so many of us out here who are great at making shit, and it's been too hard to do it. Fortunately, this podcast is really changing things for me. We're out there pitching for host read ads now, and shit's really going to change my life. As we just start actually getting paid what our show's worth for advertising. So that's cool, and we'll keep growing and growing and being slow and steady because it wins the race, like you do. But toys, man. Yeah, Eric Treadaway is God. I love him. Digger Mash is God. The Spawn toys. I'm looking at a couple old school Spawn toys that my mom bought me from a flea market that are in the room right now. They're like the gold edition version. They're all faded in the sun. They're like in some store window or something. But cool little bit of nostalgia. I love toys. There's plenty of things that I could talk to you about toys for fucking days. So if you're a toy person, you're a toy person. If you're not a toy person, you're probably not going to become a toy person all of a sudden out of the blue. Even though you can get it Masters of the Universe, you can get into some of these things without having to be a toy person. The designs for Masters of the Universe, I would just go look up fucking Masters of the Universe characters like done with AI and shit recently. There's so many cool freaking designs. The basic designs, archetypes of these fucking characters that they made in the Masters of the Universe world are just excellent. They're really, really cool. Let me get my hands on fucking Masters of the Universe one day. I'll fucking do it some justice. Trust me. So we've got toys covered, and let's get back over to music. So my dad was more influenced in 70s music. So I was a 70s guy. AC/DC, Creedence Clearwater, Alice Cooper. Like I said, I never fucking cared for Kiss. I never thought their music was good, and then just the more I knew about them, the more I was like, fuck these people. I do not like them at all. And it's only proved it's only proved to be very good instincts on my part. Beyond that, I grew up in the 90s. So it was the grunge era, like I wasn't like that was like a big thing that like took over music, which was grunge music. And honestly, I kind of hated grunge in general. I have a song called What the Fuck's a Pearl Jam that a while back. I don't know if I released it yet, but you'll be able to find it one day. And it was sort of me lamenting just the shittiness, I thought, of like their whole thing. I didn't like anything about grunge, really, even though I love Alice in Chains and I love Soundgarden. I do not care for Pearl Jam, and I think Nirvana is really overrated. And it's just not my thing, man. And but I was into the punk movement from that time, which was like Green Day and The Offspring. And Offspring's one of my favorite bands of all time. Green Day I love as well. But and tons of bands within that, like Rancid, Tim Armstrong. I love Tim Armstrong and some of his stuff that he's done, like Transplants, and he's worked on for things for Pink. I like Pink. But I and because of the Muppet Show, I listen to a little bit of everything. There's plenty of rap bands. I love 50 Cent. 50 Cent's a huge one. I love Exhibit. There's a shitload of hip hop artists that I'm a big fan of. There's a couple that you can find, more than a couple that you can find on All Your Favorite Bands Suck. If you go check out that podcast, like I said, 53 of my favorite bands. I think like maybe 5 of them are different hip hop artists. But what I'm saying is I'm not like super genre specific, and I just kind of study everybody. Rage Against the Machine is one of my favorite bands of all time, probably my favorite band next to my father, period. I don't stand behind all of the politics of all artists, all the people. Unfortunately, everybody's gotten very noisy about all their things. Everybody that I'm going to talk about today is just people that I love. I love the work that they do. I try to stay out of everybody's fucking politics shit, but I love their work. And, AC/DC, Motorhead, like those are some of my foundational bands, but then, Eminem and 50 Cent and, I'm trying to think some of the in between. So because I grew up with so many of these bands, I like POD or Limp Bizkit, who I have a begrudging love for with some of their material. That was what I was growing up with. And then as I grew up, I never stopped listening to music, and I still listen to stuff, and there's like tons of bands that I'm into. Although if I just started like naming things off the top of my I said no, I'm saying it's hard for me to just kind of name things off the top of my head, because on Spotify now, like I'll like find things that I like and I'll save them. But I until I go deeply into their albums or whatnot, it's just like a song that comes up all the time that I really fucking like. But there's this dude, I think I always dyslexy his name. I think his name is Godson. Fucking love him. Or grandson. Is it Godson or grandson? Grandson. Godson. Hold on, I want to get him right. I really like Die Antwoord, even though some of their stuff I think is weak, but there's certain bits of theirs that I love. Godson, Blood in the Water. Oh, fucking, there's so many good songs by him. I gotta get deeper into some of his stuff. There's a new guy. I'm trying to pull up my fucking playlist here that I like listen to all the time, so I can make this easy on myself. But the what do you call it? Ren, that's his name. He's awesome. New upcoming, artist. And then, some people I get into, what do you call it? Just sort of later. I just can't help myself. But I mean, like looking at my thing, I got Mother and Loveless and JVKE and Childish Gambino and Pixfield and Beasto Blanco and John LaJoie. John LaJoy. How do you pronounce his name? He's a comedy musician, very funny. He's got some great shit. Some Jesse Blaze, some 50 Cent and the Mad Rapper, Harry Chapin, Mac Davis, The Vermin, Mac Davis, MXPX, Queen, Paul Stanley, Jet. A good song's a good song. A bunch of Ren, like I was talking about. Wolfie's Just Fine, which is part of that comedy thing that I was talking about from that John J. Lee guy. The Black Keys, who I'm going to be doing an episode on for All Your Favorite Bands Suck, Blink-182. There's so many bands that I love. The podcast is a great way to go and get into it. But I mean, just that range of shit that I just like unloaded on you probably should give you some idea about bands. Power Man 5000 and Marilyn Manson, and I love industrial metal. I'm not a big fan of like death metal stuff. I like stuff that everybody can get into. I love the Jackson 5. I love Michael Jackson. I love Bruno Mars. I love the Living End, Australian punk band. I love a lot of underground punk bands from not All American Rejects, not really an underground punk band. I was gonna say MXPX or somebody like Anti-Flag. Love Anti-Flag. Shitload of Exhibit. I'm just like zipping through. I have a playlist. I have a playlist actually you can find somewhere on Spotify if you look it up. It's called The Long Way. I should maybe like change the thing to it. Maybe I do it right now. I'll go The Long Way, and I'll put Long Way. You know what? Yeah, I can do that. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, this is so cool. I'm going to do it right here while you guys are on the phone. 9 Inch Nails, Rise Against, Good Charlotte, fucking Detroit Cobras. Oh, I love the Detroit Cobras. I did an episode on them. Rancid, Twisted Sister, Widowmaker. There's just like so many fucking great bands. Remember, I'm like not trying to overwhelm you. I mean, like if you haven't gotten out a piece of paper by now, The Lonely Island, fuck yeah. Flight of the Conchords, B.O.B. Oh, I love B.O.B. B.O.B. is one of my favorites. One of the episodes on B.O.B. Nickelback. It's hard to just remember all this shit at one time. Lloyd Banks, G-Unit, G-Unit, Young Buck. So some of these, like as I've been filling out this playlist, is like when I was doing my All Your Favorite Bands Suck episodes. So like there's just like a shitload of stuff. Prophets of Rage, Andrew WK, Collective Soul, love Collective Soul. I did an episode on them. Tenacious D. Otherwise, Fiddler, Jen Wigmore, OK Go, Neon Trees, Hawk Nelson, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Francesco Yates, 21 Pilots, The Kooks, Crowbot, The Lumineers, The Fray, Queens of the Stone Age, Shakira, Pitbull, Robin Thicke, Joe Perry and Travis Barker, Death Cab for Cutie, Eliza Doolittle, Fountains of Wayne, Mika, Franz Ferdinand, some more local H, 3 Days Grace, The Parlor Mob. Oh, I love The Parlor Mob. They're a great band. They're great. Fucking check out The Parlor Mob if you like great rock music. Eminem, Grandson, Secret Someones, Little Mix, High Dive Heart. Man, so many bands. Hopefully Jack White, like Jack White. Hopefully I've hit on Elvis Presley. Hopefully I've hit on something that you vibe with and see that like I just love music. You know, if you love music, I love music too. So if you want to bond with me over music, and great, I make music and I study music because I want to be able to make music for you that you'll be like, I'm so fucking glad Jesse made this music. And I believe that I've done that already. And if you type in Jesse Blaze, there's still like 2 albums that are available, but I took the rest down just recently. You can see some of the stuff on Spotify and iTunes or whatever else. But if you go to blacklightdistrict.studio, all the music is apparently up there in one capacity or another, even though I haven't fully explored. And it's not like the website's not finished. It's going to be getting updated. So a lot more of that. So what are we missing here? So we talked music. The only era that I'm not really super into is the 80s shit. And of course I've like stayed away from it because that's the part that everybody always wants to talk to me about. I'm like, you know what? Good. I'm never going to know anything about that shit. Even though I can't help but find out shit over the years. So I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. Of course, my girlfriend is a classic 80s rock fan. She wasn't a Twisted Sister fan, actually. Funnily enough, I got her into Twisted. But she was into the other bands that I didn't really care for. So I've got like kind of schooled on some of these bands. Some of them I've been able to get into over the years. You know, more like Accept I appreciate even more. And I was a big Megadeth fan before, but she's a big Megadeth fan, so I've got even a little deeper there. See, when I find mutual things that I love, you know, that's my love language with people. It's like over the years, and we'll talk about, you know, like Aaron Sparrow. Aaron's one of my best friends, you know, and so things that Aaron loved, I just decided, well, I'm going to love that. And, I got really into Star Wars. I wasn't really into Star Wars, but Aaron was super into Star Wars. And I really loved Rogue One. And I got like fucking super stoked about it, you know, started kind of building my Star Wars toy collection and stuff a little bit. And like, you know, just getting into it a little bit more to get into it with him, watching the animated shows and reading a couple of the comics and stuff. And And then, of course, as Disney took over, the whole fucking property fell apart. And within a few years, Aaron was no longer watching any Star Wars things. And I had to watch Andor by myself going, it's really good, Aaron. You should check it out. But I finally convinced Aaron to watch it. He got to watch it for free somewhere because he didn't want to give them his money. And he was like, yes, Andor is very good. But yeah, I got into that because of Aaron. And I got into wrestling because of Aaron and another friend of mine. Shout out to TJ Serrani. TJ was a big wrestling fan. When I met TJ, he was dressed as Hulk Hogan or Macho Man. I forget which one. For Halloween, I met him on Halloween. His daughter was friends with my daughter, and I said to my, I was dressed as a Black Lantern from the Green Lantern comic books, and I said to my wife at the time, I said, we could be friends. We can be friends. I like him. And so we became really good friends. And he was really into wrestling. And I was a little into wrestling when I was a kid until somebody cut off my hair and said he was just Rob Beefcake. And then I decided I didn't like wrestling anymore. And then I was like casually interested in wrestling because a lot of the kids in my school were interested in wrestling for a moment when The Rock and Stone Cold did their thing or whatever. So I was a little aware of it, but like I didn't like watching the matches. The only matches I liked watching were the Royal Rumbles. I still am a huge Royal Rumble fan. Granted, every now and then, the Royal Rumble sucks, but generally speaking, Royal Rumbles are hard to fuck up. They're really like super fun kind of matches. Those are the ones where they throw you over the ropes. You don't pin the person, and they bring 30 people into the ring slowly over 30 minutes, and here comes the first 2 people, and then here comes a third guy, here comes a fourth guy, a fifth guy, a sixth guy. There's 20 people in the ring. It's pandemonium. I love a Royal Rumble. Royal Rumbles I genuinely enjoy. But my second favorite thing about wrestling is the behind-the-scenes drama. I love Dark Side of the Ring. I love Beyond the Mat. My family's friendly with Mick Foley and his family. I would say Mick Foley's kind of a friend of ours, and mine. He's a nice guy, wonderful man, Mick is. And that definitely tied me into it that much deeper, just sort of because watching Beyond the Ring and knowing him, it just gave me, I don't know, a deeper reason to like care, and it just made it more real. And also, my family's friendly with, shout out to Diamond Dallas Page, who does the DDP yoga. Big fan of fucking DDP yoga. Big fan of DDP. That man is awesome. He's a great guy. Really highly recommend his documentary, Jake the Snake Roberts Resurrection documentary. Fucking great. Could change your life. Really awesome stuff. Some of those personal connections have definitely helped to solidify my interest in the behind the scenes thing. Also, the behind the scenes is fucking incredible. Fucking Vince McMahon is like the real life supervillain. Like he's just, and there's more probably than him, but you can actually fucking go find out about what a piece of shit that guy is. Wrestling is an interesting subject, and I was very happy to become a fan of that. I had other friends too who were big wrestling fans as well. So, with all these things, it was like, okay, well, I'm going to get into that because, I know a bunch of people who are fans. So I would say I'm a wrestling fan. I follow it and the goings on, but like I'm not as somebody who's like your average match watcher. But I will go to like independent wrestling events and stuff. Me and Julie had gone to one with Aaron a couple years ago, and we had such a great time. One of the best nights out we've had in a long time. I highly recommend doing that. It's fucking fun. It's just very like crowd participation event sort of thing. It's weird. You don't understand until you're there, and then you're like, oh wow, this is super fun. Especially if you're in like, if you're at a good promotion that like is like lets the crowd be the crowd. It's the crowd is an entity unto itself, and I like going and doing fun things in the crowd to get the crowd to do things too. Like, because you can be a factor in a crowd. And it's fun. it's fun in these wrestling things. There was a dude who was, he looked just like fucking Hacksaw Jim Duggan. And so I just kept going, hey! And the audience immediately picked up on what I was doing. And then throughout the match, all of us, the whole fucking audience, we were just, oh, like this guy was kind of losing his mind because he realized what we were doing. It was really fun. It was fun. Super, super fun. I enjoy those things. And I understand why so many people are wrestling fans. So if you're out there and you're a wrestling fan, I get you. And I'm into your things of, a little different. I actually thought seriously for a little while about becoming a professional wrestler. I'm a national champion semi-pro football player. I'm a very good athlete. I'm a champion athlete. I was dealing with a lot of injuries and stuff that I've been overcoming, but there was a time where I didn't really know that I was injured, and I was acrobatic. I was gymnastics coach, and I could do flips and stuff. And I actually used to coach gymnastics and like little kids and stuff. But I started doing it because I was doing an adult gymnastics place where I would go and practice doing flips that I would do on stage. So this is another thing about me. I'm an athlete. I like sports a lot, but I don't really tend to love watching them because like I kind of just get antsy. I want to play, but I will go to sporting events and I do enjoy watching them occasionally. I don't like follow any team religiously. I've got a New York tattoo on my behind my ear, but it's for the Yankees and the Mets and the Giants and the Jets and the Bills, and like I'm on New York's side. I want New York to win. That's that's the stance I've taken. But I don't pick sides on teams out here. But I like sports, and I love but playing them more so than anything. And my father wasn't much of a sportsman. He was always like sort of encouraged to, but didn't go that route. He was always very proud of me that I was a sportsman and that I had taken it to a place of meaning. I was captain of my football team and stuff like that. I was good at what I did, even though I'm not the biggest guy in the world. But I love football. I really enjoy lacrosse as well. I played roller hockey, and I did pole vaulting. I went to the counties, I guess, for pole vaulting and for sprinting. I was the fastest kid in the county. I'll have you know. I don't really like racing. I was doing that because my football coach was the coach, and he asked me to, and he told me I could pole vault, and I really liked pole vaulting. Pole vaulting was fun. I also was a diver, but I never participated in meets because I didn't like the pressure of the thing. But yeah, I love sports. So wrestling was something serious I did seriously consider, because I would train with these amateur wrestlers, and I would do all the stuff that they did with them just for fun, because I liked them, and I was interested in wrestling. I had friends who were interested in wrestling, so I would have them teach me things, and I'd work with them on stuff. When I was doing that, there was a moment where I was like, I'm only a step away from this, and it's interesting, that I'm Dee Snider's son, blah 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 blah. That could be an interesting angle, maybe I could work the microphone, and the fact that I'm a musician, maybe it could be a benefit. I thought about it seriously for a second, just because I thought I could do something kind of neat, and I am that kind of athlete, an acrobatic kind of athlete, that I think I could put on a good show like that. If you ever come to see me play, if you ever come to see my father, and you've ever seen Twisted Sister or Dee Snider perform, my dad is one of the most brilliant performers of all time. So just know that I'm not going to fucking go out on stage and fart, because my dad is one of the greatest. He's one of the greatest. If a tiny fraction of it rubbed off on me, I'm going to be pretty good. If I was stupid enough to go out on the stage without any of what he had, it would be bad. It would be bad. So I definitely have that kind of personality, and I was into it. So, like Aaron and TJ and other friends that I got into, maybe Star Wars or whatever, a lot of the bulk of things that I got into from my dad. My dad is a big old school Star Trek fan. Classically, his dad took away the TV at a certain time in his childhood, and he missed an episode about the Doomsday Machine of Star Trek. He never got to see it, and he finally got it on VHS years later and was like, "Thank God I've got it. The episode I couldn't see, Star Trek." It's very funny. I bought him a T-shirt for Christmas a few years ago that was like the Doomsday Machine. It was a really, really great, well-designed T-shirt. He still wears it. So I would go to sleep watching Honeymooners and the original Star Trek when I was a little kid, and knew my dad was a big fan, but I didn't really get into Star Trek until later, because I still am not a huge fan of the original series, even though, if not for the original series, we wouldn't have what came after it, and there are aspects of the original series that I love, and pieces that I think are wonderful. But I became a bigger fan with Next Generation. I was in high school when that was coming out, and then a bunch of years after all the main Star Trek had come out, DVD really became a thing, and all the Star Trek was available on DVD. And I would catch Star Trek when I was younger on TV, and I would always end up watching the whole episode. I'd be going to sleep, and I'd be flicking through channels, and Star Trek would be on, and I'd end up watching it. And I just kind of was like, I always kind of wanted to be there for that show and like watch it, but I felt like I was missing something. I hadn't watched it from the beginning. I didn't really know what was going on, kind of thing. So I just kind of started from the beginning with Next Generation, and then went through one season at a time, and and then I started buying like multiple seasons at a time as I watched Star Trek, Next Generation, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Star Trek Voyager, Star Trek Enterprise, went all the way back around to watch the original series and the fucking animated series just for good measure. I don't really recommend the animated series or the original series isn't my favorite. Some of the episodes are good. But I love Next Gen. I love Deep Space Nine is my favorite in particular, and love Voyager, and I loved Enterprise. Really just that whole, when it was more serialized and they were able to just, go a little bit more long form with the storytelling. I love Star Trek. I love what it represents. Star Trek and Gene Roddenberry was really like kind of my second hero to William Goldman, and is really probably second would probably be Gene. Gene's positive vision of the future. I love science fiction, but if you look at most science fiction, it's all a negative vision of the future. There's no positive fucking vision except for Star Trek. And I believe in that. I think that's important. I fucking hate the Kurtzman verse. I bailed out with the very first episode of Discovery. I was given the benefit of the doubt for the first 3 J.J. Abrams ones. They, I thought they did a great job casting them, and I thought the movies were okay. They were trying to appeal to that Star Wars audience, but remember, I didn't really like Star Wars. I liked Star Trek. Star Trek I did like. Star Wars I had to come to like because I had friends who liked it. Star Trek, I didn't love seeing it go down that path, but I hope maybe it would eventually get back to center and bring in a new audience. And when the first episode of Discovery came out and I saw that they were doing fucking Black Ops Star Trek, in the future, human beings are just as shitty as they are now. Oh my God. I just lost my mind. Thanks anyway. That's not what I'm looking to see here, So, I have not been paying attention really to any of the Star Trek that has come since. Never got into Doctor Who, and then it sort of became like a point of contention. I just haven't bothered to get into it, but one of these days I will. My dad's other big loves was comic books. He fucking loved comic books, and I got into comic books hardcore. He was much more of a Marvel guy, but I started the only comic that I still read. He bought me a subscription to Spider-Man. I never read it. It was like 11. I would read some of the word balloons and stuff. It was right when Carnage was introduced. I had those original issues. And I had a lot of books that I was collecting. I like collecting cards more than the comics. I didn't really read them. They felt just too dense to me. I didn't like reading at that time. I used to have an over-focus problem, and I would tear up and shit when I tried to read. But I got into the comic book Savage Dragon, and I've told the story before. I got into Savage Dragon for years. I read Savage Dragon cover to cover. He made me love comic books. Eric Larson, the creator of Savage Dragon. And then when I started working at 7-Eleven as a teenager, I started reading Deadpool, and Deadpool had ads for other comics, and that's basically how I started reading the other comics, because I slowly but surely, Deadpool was written by Joe Kelly. Joe Kelly I thought was great. He obviously had a bit of a sense of humor. He was writing some X-Men books, and I was like, okay, I'll try the X-Men books too. And then they were doing this Marvel Knights thing, and there was some of the artists I really liked, and it looked really cool, and I just kind of went, all right, maybe I'll give that a try. And it was great. It was the beginning of a fucking writing renaissance over there at Marvel, with some things that were being really handled well and told well. Paul Jenkins and Christopher Priest and Kevin Smith, is one of the ones who came in there, but really just ultimately led to the Marvel Renaissance. Brian Michael Bendis, and eventually Jason Aaron would be kind of the tail end of it. Ed Brubaker and Greg Rucka, and just so many fucking wonderful people. And then I met a friend named Greg Aberback. Shout out to Greg. Greg turned me on to Batman, and I turned him out to Savage Dragon. And once I got into Batman, that was it, man. Because Batman was on the Justice League. Batman, gets you into Robin, and, gets you into a couple other things, then once I was reading the Justice League, kind of liked Superman, some of these stories. And then, I was reading The Flash. And then when I decided that it was going to be a job pursuit of mine, I decided that if I was going to do that, then I needed to read all the classics. So then I started digging in deep to, whether it was Watchmen and Dark Knight Returns and Mouse and shit that was considered classic, everything I get my hands on that was an heirloom. It was things like Crisis of Infinite Earths and stuff. Even though I never read the Jack Kirby classics and the Stan Lee classics, those stories had been retold so many times in DC and Marvel. I was looking for things that were part of the the intellectual literature of people who appreciated comic books as an art form, because that's how I feel about it. I really appreciate comics as an art form. To this day, I think comic books are the single greatest art form known to man. I really believe that. So comics and music. Oh, you know what? I forgot something. A big thing that my mom is actually responsible for: animation. I'm huge into animation because my mom really liked Disney animation. So Disney animation was huge in my house. We were always watching Sleeping Beauty or Snow White or Robin Hood or Sword in the Stone or Aristocats or 101 Dalmatians. I had lots of sing-along VHS tapes where it was just like the music of all the movies. I loved that music. That music shaped me very much, as a songwriter too. The Sherman Brothers, who are two of the most brilliant songwriters who ever lived. Look up the Sherman Brothers. They've done some documentaries on them. And Walt Disney. Walt Disney is another huge hero of mine. Do I have to bump number 2 again and say that maybe, because it's probably Jim and then Walt for me. And then you got to go into, I got to make a list. And then you got to go into Gene Roddenberry and William Goldman, and then you got people like Digger Mesh who are on that list, and Steve Jobs, who I put next to Digger next to, Digger's been such a fucking success. It's so many different toy things that are successes. I'm looking forward to being part of his future success. He's such a brilliant guy. Deserves all the success he's had and then some. And these people, a lot of these people, they're world builders, they're business builders. Steve Jobs, Digger Mesh, William Goldman, he was doing not just writing films, not just writing books, but also writing about writing films and writing about writing books, helping to usher in a next generation. And he was responsible for adapting things that people believed weren't adaptable and changing the idea about there being books that weren't adaptable. Like, that whole fucking notion, and doing them in a loving way. And then you get Gene Roddenberry, a positive vision of the future, literally creating a model for a positive futuristic society. And Jim Henson creating worlds, and the same thing with Walt Disney. I love them. And Disney animation is a huge one for me. Pixar, which is now like lumped into there. I was a big Steve Jobs fan, so I was paying attention to that. John Lasseter I'm a huge fan of his. He's on the list, but I believe that John Lasseter is somebody more like me who had been paying attention to the greats, and and was ready to play their songs and honor them. And I'm one of those people. I've been paying attention, and I know how to do this at a very high level. And I believe that it should and could be done at a very high level. And so often it's not being done because everything's being mismanaged in one way or another. We just live in a really weird, structured society that structures its entertainment business very strangely and so many different things. So, I'm sure there's lots more people like me right now coming up with their own Blacklight District studio that are going to change things. And if you want to see some of the ways in which I'm changing things, I don't know if it's up there completely yet. There's a bunch of things that are there, and there's going to be more and more. The website's being scaled up very rapidly, but there's some comic books, blacklightdistrict.studio, free, tons of music, a lot of cool stuff. And you can write to me at jbs at blacklightdistrict.studio for any reason that you might have. I love you. I love hearing from listeners, especially if you're somebody like this who's actually listening all the way through the end of the show. I think 56 or 57% of you guys listen full to the complete episode. I appreciate that. You guys are like my special people, because you're the people that I feel like have heard everything I said, maybe, on some level anyway. So I appreciate you. I was gonna maybe cut this into 2 parts, but I just feel like it's all one part, and fuck it. Just hang out. If you got the piece of paper, and if the people are going to be listening, it's just let it play, right? So let's get into it, because the next thing that I'm going to do is read from the list of every podcast that I've done already, so you know what you can dive into and get into that I've already been sharing about, and then get into my list of all the episodes that I'm preparing to do in the future, so you know where I'm going in the future already, and you can find out about all the things that I already love that people aren't going to find out for a couple years, but you'll know because you heard this. Now, this show has been designed from its start to be evergreen. And by that, I mean, I don't want to ever record a show that like can't be listened to in 100 years. Honestly, like my goal is that I don't say anything that will not stand the test of time and will not be useful to be heard in 100 years. And I mean that. So we're going to go through the list of the episodes that I have already recorded, so we can point to some of the great episodes and things that you should be checking out. We'll be getting to a couple later edition fandoms of mine, like my girlfriend and my son Cassidy both like horror, so I've gotten into horror movies more over time. But we're going to start by going through the episodes that we've already done. So, just mentioning some of these things that you don't have to go listen to these things. I mean, some of these episodes are worth listening to for some of the subject matters or whatever. But just consider a ton of these just recommendations, whether it's for film or whatever else. I'm just going to be looking through the old episodes and giving you a bit. So let's see. So the first episode, current state of the DC cinematic universe. We were just looking at things at the time between the DC changeover into the James Gunn sphere and all that shit. So let's see. I'm going to go with Coolest Alive, talking Man of Steel with Henry Cavill. And, there's a lot of things divisive about that movie, and that one is not a recommendation. It's part recommendation, part dissertation and breakdown of the movie. It's a really splitting point of why the DC universe didn't work from there, and it's a worthwhile to check out if you ever want to see that. So we did an interesting interview with my kids on their Disney Plus experience. That one's worth checking out if you want to see the kids' perspective on Disney Plus and Star Wars and all this stuff. I just was interested to ask them. I did a 3-parter on The Last Jedi, just breaking that down at the time. This was when I was just kind of coming into the space, so this isn't all my favorite stuff. So I'm just going to kind of skip around to some of the favorite stuff. Kevin Defunct, the defunct Marvel Brain Trust. The Marvel Brain Trust was such a huge part of why the Marvel Cinematic Universe was such a big success. An episode's all about that. Mario, Zelda. Oh, I'm a huge fan of old school Nintendo games. That starts with my dad. Getting me into Zelda and Mario Kart, and I'm not Mario Kart, Zelda, and then the Mario games that were on Nintendo. And I never switched systems. I liked the simpler games that were on Nintendo than the more complex games that came later. Fixing Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That one's still fun. Review Spider-Verse 2, a hit, proving fans are not actually sexist, racist. That one, I like Spider-Verse 2, but not as much as Spider-Verse 1, not even close. But that's just all about how everybody's embracing of that movie in the middle of all of the bullshit that they were saying about the fandom just proved that they were all wrong. So I got a top 50 classic geek culture films here. I don't remember what that fucking list is, but it's classic geek culture films. Go check out that. Flash Postmortem, talking about some of those things. Spider-Verse tops box office again. 50 classic geek culture films part 2 is there as well. So I guess I had to break it into 2. We'll skip over these guys. So I talked about my career working for Marvel, DC, Disney, Pixar, the Muppets, all these different things. Then I did a very interesting history of the multiverse, starring the entirety of the DCU. Very cool. History of the multiverse, even as a concept, which is cool. And I did an episode, last time I was talking about my love for the Muppets and trying to work for the Muppets. I did a whole episode talking about trying to work for the Muppets and Sesame Street and Fraggle Rock, working with Disney. This was just some things that we're talking about upcoming films at the time. Going after the Disney and Muppets licensing, reinventing Evil Ernie for Dynamite Entertainment. This was more personal career stuff, working in comics. And then I did a little breakdown of Peacemaker and other DC Cinematic Universe comic book adaptations in name only. Because this is always about honoring the source material and covering things well, did an episode on Comicsgate and what's happened to the comic book fandom. Linter and 10 other Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are some of my favorite Ninja Turtle characters based on the movie Mutant Mayhem, which come out with a lot of them. I did a great episode on, that's a great place to start with Walt Disney and my love for animation. Walt Disney and the one that started it all, Snow White and the Seven Dwarves. I really love that episode. I did a great Indiana Jones trilogy review. I'm a big fan of the 3 Indiana Jones movies. You heard me. Toys, Toys, Toys. Merchandising tells all about the current state of geek culture. It was about the current state of geek culture, but also a little bit deeper into my love of toys. If you're a toy person, you might enjoy that one. They had, this was just interesting, Blue Beetle and 10 other not ready for primetime superhero players invading the Marvel and DC cinematic universes. Just before it was happening, I was essentially calling in 2023 how many of these things were not going to land. How just SJWs were weaponized by the woke establishment against geek culture. It's a worthwhile episode. 101 starting points to make you a diehard Marvel, DC, and indie comic book reader. This is a great episode. I have tons of comic books that I've recommended at different times, and in specifically, I had a little company, just like a charitable kind of company, that when I would go to comic conventions, I would set up a thing called I don't know shit about comics, and I would answer questions about comics and like basically give people help, like guidance on like how to get into the hobby. Really loved doing that. And this is all of the recommendations that I had put together at the time in this one episode here. So it's an hour-long episode or whatever, but tons of great comic book recommendations in there. And shortly after that, I did an episode of Hollywood being on strike and just an insider's perspective on things. I've worked in film and TV and hosting and just so many things, whether it's myself directly or slightly indirectly or producing or and then plenty of friends. It's just just a pretty good breakdown of some of that Hollywood strike stuff, especially at the time. The information was fresher in my mind. But right after I had done the 101 starting points for comics, I did a bunch more after that. I did Batman, What to Read to Become a Lifelong Bat Stan, featuring Robin, Nightwing, Batgirl, and tons of others. There's a great episode. I was right. Star Wars merch is down 65%. Leakers alleges loss of retail space. It still holds up now because it's all about everything that they're dealing with, how they destroyed their business. And then I did Batman 101 Part 2. Want to become a lifelong Bat Stan. More Batman recommendations. Bob Iger and Disney, masterclass in losing the public relations game. Just some more critique of the fucking shambles that Bob Iger's been doing with Disney, my favorite fucking company under the sun, and he's blowing it. Then I did an episode, Superman, What to Read to Become a Lifelong Fan of the Man of Steel. Great episode filled with Superman comic book recommendations. Marvel Fail, the Saga of the Marvels, chronicling 2 decades of trying to make the Marvels work. That was actually about some of the comic books and them trying to get Captain Marvel to work in the comics I was reading when they were trying to position her differently. It never really worked, even though I was open to it, fans were open to it. They just never really got it to land, and then it just kind of got worse when they switched over to film. Then Daredevil. If you're a comic book fan, want to get into Daredevil, What to Read to Become a Lifelong Fan on the Man Without Fear. An hour and 6 minutes of me. Whoa, fucking so many great recommendations for Daredevil. Just more survey about Disney 50-50 love-hate with the audience. It's just been a lot of me in the earlier days just determining what the fuck they were, all the things that they were doing wrong, trying to put it into reasonable conversation standards so that people who were like considered themselves woke and social justice warriors wouldn't get fucking all butthurt. Like, it's like, dude, the conversation is complex, but they're destroying things. Daredevil writers fired. Let's see. Geek Culture, Deadpool, The Race to the Bottom, starring Disney Star Wars. Gargoyles live action series reboot announced. That was celebrating my love of Gargoyles and also yelling about the fact that Greg Weisman, creator of Gargoyles, was not included. I told everybody not to replace the Avengers with the Young Avengers and how they were going to fuck that up if they weren't careful. Five Nights at Freddy's, the next Super Mario Brothers movie, non-spoiler review. Saw that with my kids. I saw the sequel with my kids. It's great, you know. They're totally moved by it, and like, you know, it speaks to them, you know. So it's cool. I like that Jim Henson's Creature Shop's involved. That huge Jim Henson's Creature Shop fan. There's a great episode that I did called "What Killed the Western and Will It Kill Superhero Films Too? The Truth Behind the Superhero Fatigue." It's a really great episode. Evergreen deserves a listen. So the show when Marvel hiring the wrong producer is just really about behind the scenes of what's going on with who they're hiring. And then Marvel director articulating exactly why Hollywood fails its heroes and why the Marvels failed and so many others. Then I did a Loki season 2 finale review and 13 alternate Marvel Cinematic Universes to visit in the name of you know, the multiverse. This is just a great fun one. If it's just it is what it says it is, not necessarily important, but these are fun. Celebrating defeat the Marvels. What happens when you piss off the tastemakers? Oh yeah, you know, just all about them pissing off the fans. We did ranking Marvel Studios all phases 1 through 5. That was fun. Disney's Bob Iger problem, replacing reverence with respect and failing at that. So 10 fandom menace victories to celebrate in addition to the Marvel's historic box office. The basically celebrating the the failures when the fandoms have been saying, we don't like this. This isn't going to do good. You're making it wrong. So let's see. Conspiracy, unveiling the plan to weaponize the popular fiction in the culture. This is a great episode. It's just all about how they've weaponized all of our favorite things. Well, they weaponized the monoculture and they took it to use it as a weapon to try to terraform the culture, and it failed miserably. And now maybe we'll be able to reclaim our culture. But like, oh my God, they fucking destroyed it in the name of fucking PSY operations, trying to freaking change Americans. Elon flips Iger the Bird as major studios boycott advertising X over free speech. This episode is just all about free speech. I think that's a worthwhile episode to check out. Black Panther, Bob Iger, and Time Before Wokeness. That's just some great history of the days before Bob Iger and the Ike Perlmutters, and there's a lot of great information in there. Hollywood Budget versus Godzilla -1. Great non-spoiler review, plus just an informed insiders like. Godzilla -1 was made for so little. It's so fucking good. It's just cinema well done. It's everything. It literally just reveals all the problems that Hollywood has. Did a thing on the Hasbro toy layoffs. Mark Waid and all hell Mark Millar. I said I love Mark Waid. He's one of my heroes, but I said fuck you, Mark, for some of the things that he was saying online. And I was encouraging Mark Millar for going the other way, being somebody who was unifying the culture. Mark Waid's been dividing it, making it very left-leaning only. You can't be in it. You got to, like, I fucking can't stand that shit. And I love you, Mark Waid, but fuck you, Mark. Seriously, I just like these. Like I said, all of these, I only will do an episode if I feel like there's a deeper conversation that's worth being had. So, you know, these are all worth checking out. Then they came for the X-Files, and I spoke, even though I was not a fan of the X-Files. I don't know if the X-Files thing that they had come for even came out, but maybe it's because people like me. 13 non-traditional Christmas movies. So this is one of the first ones that I wanted to share with you guys today. I know it's Christmas time. Hey, the episode is out there. There's multiple episodes of this show. 13 non-traditional Christmas movies. It's more like 18 and a bunch more great ones. And then an incredible FX's Christmas Carol, which is one of the greatest Christmas movies ever made. It's like a miniseries. It's like 3 parts. It's incredible. And 14 Christmas classics you need to see. Great. These are all in line next to each other. And including, this is December 30th, December 27th, December 23rd, Nightmare Before Christmas, and the 12 greatest films of Christmas, period. Three whole episodes here, 57 minutes, an hour and 1 minute, 43 minutes. You are loaded for bear. Go listen to these shows. Find them. If that's all you're interested in right now, go fucking get those recommendations right now. And there's more. That was Christmas 2023. I did more the year after. Dueling Flops, an episode on the Marvels and Aquaman 2, and just analyzing that. MCU Screwjob, fixing new Avengers lineup for Iger and Feig. I was just trying to trying to help you out here. DCEU postmortem, 10 years of lessons the WB refused to learn, just breaking this shit down. Ego, how The Rock refused to job to Shazam and killed the DCEU. That's a really good sort of explosive expose on what was going on there. Really fucking lame. Disney nosedive, 5 signs Disney's pulling up and 5 signs they can't find the bottom, which they didn't find the bottom. Media proves Gino Carano's tweet 100% right. I was defending Gina. She deserved it. If you really knew the situation there with Gina, she really got fucking... I don't even know why the fuck they decided to do what they did to her. Rumor Deadpool 3 to rewrite MCU herstory. Let's imagine how. That's just an imaginative for fun show. Razzing the rigged Razzie Awards nominations they conveniently missed. I just helping you out there, guys, a little bit. Film threats, DEI bombshells, and personal DEI Hollywood stories from the Coolest Geek Alive. This was me, sort of like a support piece to my buddies at Film Threat, who have a bunch of exposés that they had put out. They actually added to it recently, revealing what Disney has been doing, like just like all this stuff behind the scene. It's like ugly and stupid, and like I don't get it. Fucking stupid. This stuff's crazy. Reacher, I love that show. Coolest pick, season 1 and 2, spoiler-free review. You can go watch my review. You can just go watch it. It's great. Love Reacher. Attack the Block, coolest picks. One of my favorite movies of the past 20 years. Fucking love that one. Really amazing. This great episode of Does Disney Deserve to Be Saved? I'm not sure it does. Coolest of all, one of my favorite episodes of all time, Monty Python, Why It's So Great, Where to Start, and more. Full episode celebration of all great Monty Python stuff and related stuff, like great things that Eric Idle has done afterwards and Graham Chapman has done afterwards and John Cleese has done afterwards. Really, really full coverage of them. I fucking love them. John Cleese is an idol of mine. Worship the ground that man walks on. Animal World, fucking awesome movie. It's a foreign movie. I think it's Chinese. Animal World is so fucking good. Coolest picks. Check out that movie. Fixing Sony's Spider-Verse. Oh, I gave a bunch of amazing fucking suggestions to everything that they should be doing with Sony's part of the Spider-Verse so that they could be making massive amounts of money. Neil Blomkamp's Oat Studios shorts. Coolest picks. Got to check it out. You can watch him on YouTube. I think it was all available on Netflix. It's available at a couple places, but just watch all of the fucking shorts that Oat Studios has ever put out. A lot of them are CG. Some of them are live action, like things that they shot for films that never got made. There's a Sigourney Weaver one. It's all awesome. Fucking awesome. Then I did an episode, an hour and 14 minutes, celebrating Jim Henson, coolest geek ever lived. A guide to geek greatness. Muppets, Sesame Street, everything that I could fit into the episode, I did. Love that one. Check that out. Brotherhood of the Wolf, coolest pick. See, I told you, like, there's just so many episodes of like celebrations, like, and some of them that I already did. Like, so I want you to go back and get these things, and then I'm just gonna go through my list when this is all done of the things that I plan to do in the future, but I haven't gotten a chance to do yet. Okay. Again, if you're not taking notes, you might want to. French film, Brotherhood of the Wolf, great one. I think it's a French film. It's subtitled. Coolest of all, Star Trek, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, original series, full celebration, hour and 55 minutes, 2 hours of me covering fucking Star Trek. I love Star Trek. I highly recommend you go back and check out that episode. Tucker and Dale versus Evil, coolest pick. That's a great movie. One of my favorite movies of the past 20 years. Zack Snyder's Kobayashi Maru, how non-fan filmmakers create superhero fatigue. Yeah, there's a lot of things going on in that episode, going on with all the whole Snyder Cut stuff and so much behind the scenes. Disclosure. This episode is called, and Resident Alien Season 1 and 2. I love Resident Alien. Highly recommend that. Alan Tudyk, he's great. He's a national treasure. One of my most popular episodes of all time is the greatest book of all time, The Princess Bride by William Goldman. There's actually 2 parts to this. The second part does not have nearly as many views, and I highly recommend you check it out. It comes just a week later. It's Revenge of William Goldman, more than 13 of his greatest works, The Princess Bride, and then others included. A perfect movie, PG, Psycho Gorman. I love Psycho Gorman. Again, another one of my favorite movies of the past 20 years. Guy Ritchie's The Gentleman, one of my favorite TV shows in the past 20 years. Fucking great. Or past 10 years. Fucking awesome. The Gentleman series on Netflix. Amazing show. Ghostbusters in name only. Geek culture in name only. Star Trek, Star Wars. So many things in name only when the heart and soul of the thing has been lost. What is it now? It's a whole episode on that. Coolest pick. What Happened to Monday? Great movie. I think I watched it on Netflix at the time. I'm not sure if it's a Netflix original. Then I did a Gojira celebration. Gojira, coolest kaiju alive. Kong times Godzilla to the one that started it all. All my favorite fucking Godzilla shit. Coolest pick, Andrew Stanton's John Carter. I love John Carter from Mars. Then we did coolest franchise alive, Masters of the Universe. Is this sci-fi fantasy the greatest thing ever? Yes, it is. Check that out if you want to check out me gushing about fucking Masters of the Universe for an hour. Amazon's Invincible was another coolest pick that we had. Disney Afternoon Delight, celebrating the Disney Afternoon, great animation, Darkwing Duck, Gargoyles, Goof Troop, Aladdin, and so many more. That's a great one. If you're into animation and you never got into the Disney Afternoon, that's a great one. Or if you just want to hear somebody share their love for it like you have, then go listen. Then the coolest pick, we did Gore Verbinski's The Lone Ranger. Remember, my old schedule used to be I would do one short pick on Saturdays, and then I would do a main episode, either celebrating something or lamenting something. And when I started celebrating things, I decided more and more that, fuck this. I'm not going to just tear up everything apart. I'm just going to keep celebrating stuff. Just spend more of my time fucking celebrating all the stuff that I love than shitting on things. So a lot more of that became that. Gore Verbinski's The Lone Ranger. That's a great one. I love that movie. Then I did a really awesome episode. I told you, I'm athletic last episode. I'm not trying to impress you or anything, but I like athletics and whatnot. And there's a great Bodybuilding for Geeks, Mike Metzer's book. It's really smartly practical approach to weight training. I'd never read anything like it that I just felt so, I don't know. It just was very sensical, and it helped me understand what I was doing to some degree, and just to put it all into perspective for me. Love the book, highly recommend it. I found it as a free PDF online, I go over a lot of the information here, but I do recommend just go read the book. It's Mike Metzer's Heavy Duty. There's 2 volumes of it, but there's an episode if you want to check that out too. It's an hour and a half. Coolest Geeks Are Dead, 100th episode mini celebration with directions to the real. It's just all of the wonderful people who had died, celebrating all the people who I love, like Jim Henson and Gene Roddenberry. Coolest Geek 101, how to be the change. It's easier than you think. It's kind of a general practical thing on trying to, it's a lot of stuff that we're talking about here with the monoculture. Coolest Geeks Still Alive. Who are the 11 coolest geeks breathing? I had some help with some of these things with my buddy Aaron Sparrow somewhere in some of these episodes. The Rewarding Path of Creator Loyalty, how to be a tastemaker. It's all about being loyal to people, being a fan of things, of artists and stuff, being somebody who really does care deeply about these things, somebody that like me, being somebody who takes it seriously, recording the monoculture, like taking an accounting of it, sharing these things so that we don't forget them, so that we can share them with more people. I celebrated X-Men 97's Simple Formula and Jeff Johns' ambitious Ghost Machine. I tied them both together because I didn't think that Ghost Machine would necessarily get a lot of episodes, a lot of viewers itself, but I thought X-Men 97 would get some people, but just celebrating that. And Jeff Johns' Ghost Machine's great. It's a new comic book company that he started. He's a brilliant writer. He's trying to do it the right way. If you want to go out and support a new company that's been doing new things the right way in comic books, Ghost Machine's a great place to start, especially because there's not a ton of history there. It's just a little bit, but you can get in on a shared universe that he's making with some other brilliant creators. BlackRock's Disney and their puppet CEO Bob Iger, real current strategy. Just me breaking it down conspiracy style. If you like crazy type conspiracy stuff, I do an esoteric wisdom show that I talk about every Sunday called Everything They Don't Want You to Know. A lot of people would call it a conspiracy show. It's not a fucking conspiracy show. I love you. I'm here. I'm in the industry. I know what's going on and what's not going on, and there is plenty of fucking conspiratorial type shit going on. And the official narrative of fucking anything that they might tell you is it's all a load of malarkey, man. So if you want to know anything about that, in 111 minutes, I'll tell you about BlackRock's fucking Disney agenda. Hollywood is burning. Worst Memorial Day since 1982. Why? And do we laugh or cry? That was a tough one. Just the moment, still an important moment to talk about. So this is Netflix's One Piece. I'll pick that one. I love that one. Talked about what do women actually want. MCU audience demographics. The smoking gun. Disney has actually been losing women more than men. as they have been making all of these changes to try to get more women, and they have been pushing the women away. It's been obvious, and they just have been refusing to acknowledge it. I did a coolest pick for Three Amigos. I gotta fucking update some of these writing. Rotten Tomatoes is bullshit episode. You really got to check out that one. It's a great one. Coolest classics, Tombstone, baby. Kurt Russell and Val Kilmer, two of my favorite actors and one of my favorite movies of all time. My second favorite movie of all time is Tombstone after Princess Bride. I love Tombstone. If you're a Tombstone fan or a Princess Bride fan, we are bonded. Braveheart's my third favorite movie of all time. And then I think my fourth is Iron Man. Don't say woke. So what do you say? How to critique Acolyte and Rings of Power without conversation devolving into madness on the internet. Coolest classics, we did Escape from New York. That's a great movie. Love John Carpenter as a filmmaker. Racism and Sexism Alive and Well in Hollywood. That's a good episode as well. Coolest pick for Brawl and Cell Block 99. Great one. Another great conspiracy episode. Geek Culture Psyop. How fans were sucked into the center of the culture war. Coolest classics, Memento. If you've never seen Memento, great fucking movie. That is early Christopher Nolan. He's a great filmmaker. Saving Entertainment. Help Us, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Your Only Hope. It's another fun one. M. Night Shyamalan's Unbreakable trilogy with Split and Glass finale. Coolest pick. Like that one. All three of those were worth talking about. Real Actual Racism. First Finn, then T'Challa. Disney does it again. They talk about racism, and Disney is actually racist. The corporations, the way they do things are terrible. Coolest picks, Zoolander. The original Zoolander, fucking awesome. Coolest pick, Deadpool and Wolverine. I really loved it. I've watched it multiple times now. Amazon's The Boys. Talking about Amazon's From Stud to Dud. Why we can't have nice things. And, the show has deteriorated because it's leaned in one direction, and it's still okay, but it's just not as good as it was when it was hitting a little bit more in the middle, which is just a place where we learn more things. RJGJ is Doom and why fans hate it. Then we got So I Married an Axe Murderer with Mike Myers, coolest classic. Yeah, baby. So I Married an Axe Murderer, great classic comedy. It's one that my family's been recommending to people for ages. Really excellent flick there. Then I had an episode, Nerdrotic and the Influencer Effect, who is really in control of the geek culture space. Another coolest pick for The Rescue and 13 Lives, which is a double feature. It's a documentary and then the movie that the documentary, and then a movie based on the documentary, based on the real life events. Both are awesome. The Rescue and 13 Lives, great stuff. Blade 1 and 2, celebrating the glory of Wesley Snipes' Blade franchise and proposing a way forward for the MCU. I fucking love Blade, celebrating that. Fucking love Guillermo del Toro. What a great director he is. Been fan of Pan's Labyrinth, one of my favorites. Coolest picks, Molly's Game, true story, and write down Pan's Labyrinth too. Pan's Labyrinth, so good. Vince McMonster, 22 Suspicious Deaths of WWE Superstars, and the documented evidence that he's awful. Coolest classics, Jim Carrey's Liar Liar. Love that one. We did an episode celebrating the Tim-verse, or the Bruce-verse, original DC animated versus Batman, Cape Crusader. Fucking love his whole animated universe, Justice League Unlimited, Superman, great shit. Then we celebrated The Crow, starring Brandon Lee, coolest classic pick. Then I did an episode called The New PMRC, Like My Father Before Me, We Fight Freedom of Speech. And I was taking to task why that's important. We talk about coolest classic, Demolition Man, Stallone versus Snipes. I love that one. A great episode called Star Wars Fans Attack, how softcore fans killed the franchise and continue to fucking destroy it. It's really just softcore fans of anything will just destroy a whole brand because they're not loyal. They don't really care about the foundations. You need the hardcore people to be the ones who guide the heart of anything. Great movie with The Rock and Christopher Walken and Stifler is The Rundown. Love that one. 2003's The Rundown. And then Agatha All-Along Reviews Split, explaining the divide between casual fans and comic book readers. Coolest classics, Robert Rodriguez, Desperado. I fucking love Desperado. Love Robert Rodriguez. He's a favorite filmmaker of mine, even though I feel like he's gotten worse over time. But Battle Angel was good. Gremlins 2, best sequel, smartest script, and one of the greatest geek culture films ever made. I love Gremlins 2 so hard. Gremlins 2 is one of my favorite movies of all time. Probably not too far after Iron Man and stuff. And honestly, like I maybe would put it higher up. Like it's such a favorite of mine. I will watch it anytime. The Penguin is a coolest pick. Love the Penguin. 50 greatest geek culture classic films to watch anytime. Another one I recommend. Then we had Penguin versus Joker 2, The Dangerous Game of Subverting Expectation. Just kind of explaining where things have gone wrong there. Late Night with the Devil, great movie. The dude who plays Polka Dot Man, he's the guy, he's the main, like the lead in that movie. He's excellent. Toxic Feminine, Gina Carano and Caitlin Clark reveal the hypocrisy of Disney, the WNBA, and so many other things. Nice little think piece. Then we had Boy Kills World. I really like that movie. Coolest pick, recent one. Halloween special was 13 comic book based horror classics. Some great picks in there for horror fans. Then we had Tulsa King Season 1 recommendation. I love that show. Galaxy Quest recommendation. It's the Spaceballs of Star Trek. I really recommend that. Coolest fandom alive. Kickstarter darlings, the Four Horsemen Studios. I told you I'm a big toy fan here, talking all about their Mythic Legions thing. That episode did really, really well. I was so glad how many people listened to that. It's me celebrating the Mythic Legions line and stuff, and I hope it led some people to checking out their stuff. Trump wins, smashes Hollywood echo chamber, Vanity Fair, and even Grace Randolph must admit that the culture is not exactly in line with what Hollywood has been trying to pretend it has been. The Penguin Season 1, we did as a straight coolest pick, was great. Cap 4 being reshot a third time. That's one of our biggest episodes too. Hulk Erased, She-Hulk Erased, Venom Spidey crossover. There's a whole bunch of cool things going on in that one. Coolest classics, Daniel Clow's Art School Confidential. Highly recommend that one. Digger Mesh recommended that to me. It's great. Then I got the coolest writers alive, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, celebrating South Park, Team America, and all the great stuff that they have brought us, like the Book of Mormon and other things. Then I did coolest pick for Edge of Tomorrow. Then Earth's Mightiest Heroes. This is celebrating the Earth's Mightiest Heroes Avengers animated series, which is a blueprint for the Marvel Universe to move forward and to do things well, and they just have not been able to get their fucking heads out of their ass. But this is just me celebrating that animated series. I highly recommend you check out that animated series, Earth's Mightiest Heroes. So good. I think it only lasted 2 seasons because then that was when Disney switchover happened, and they canceled it and brought out a new show that sucked. Oh my God, the show was so good. What a bummer. This is Spinal Tap, the funniest rock movie ever made. Highly recommend that. Also recommend the bad news stuff that I recommended recently. From Snow White, The Rise and Fall of the Walt Disney Company. It's From Snow White to Snow White. That's a worthwhile episode. As a classic Disney fan, I really just kind of let them have it. Coolest pick, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Really enjoyed that. We'll go with Coolest Geek Alive, Christmas Message, which so many people listen to my Christmas message. You guys showed me that you were actually listening and stuff. It's so cool. That was when I realized I had a successful show. DC fans at war, Snyder fans versus gun fans versus comic book purists. Who's right? It's a good discussion. Bankruptcy for Diamond Comics distributors. How did we get here? Good discussion. Then we did Green Lantern, James Gunn and Jeff Johns, 3 flavors that belong together, celebrating a ton of different things there, and again, giving sort of ways forward for the DC cinematic universe that could still be taken. Coolest pick, The Platform and The Platform 2. Great fucking creepy movie. Oh my God, I highly recommend The Platform and The Platform 2. If you want to watch a movie that's not a typical horror movie, but oh God, fucking great. Coolest Geek Alive, Effective DEI in Entertainment and Beyond. That's a really great episode. I highly recommend you listen to it. New Fantastic Four and Superman trailers, but will the fans show up? This is, before we got to see the movies. Coolest pick, Please Don't Destroy the Treasure of Foggy Mountain. I just recommended that to my dad recently. Very funny movie. Did an episode celebrating Captain America and his true meaning. Hint, it's not just a suit. It's really just about Captain America. I don't think I necessarily recommend too many comics or anything in there. The Flash has the best villains. Fight Me, why James Gunn and the WB shouldn't be sleeping on the Flash's villains. Celebration of the Flash and his villains. Coolest pick, a Resident Alien Season 3 we did. Diversity, Equity, Inclusion is great. So why does DEI suck so bad? It was a work study episode I did. Coolest pick, The Unbreakable Boy plus uplifting bonus. Second half is on gratitude. So there was just kind of a little bonus thing that I was just doing, talking about gratitude, which is worth listening to. Toy Fair 2025, what I learned, Marvel, DC, Star Wars, and everything in between. I just went to Toy Fair in 2025, and it was cool, and I talked about it. I recommended the movie Riff Raff. It's a recent one, recent coolest pick. Daredevil, Born Again, Captain America, Brave New World ratings and box office disaster. Talking about all the stuff going on recently with that stuff. Where are all the gingers? A strange race swapping trend. Is SJW's Mara Jade next? Is Star Wars Mara Jane next? Probably. Coolest pick, we had Bruce Lee's Warrior TV series. Great one. Digger turned me on to that. Awesome show. Coolest classic, True Romance, written by Quentin Tarantino. Yes. I get an episode, The Truth About Review Bombing. That's a really great one, a great companion episode to the Rotten Tomatoes episode. Then we did Val Kilmer celebrating his life with 6 coolest classic recommendations, Tombstone and a ton of other ones. Then we did coolest classics, Mel Gibson's Braveheart. I told you that's my third favorite. Hollywood Echo Chamber, why stars like John Boyega keep alienating fans. And I explained, really hoping that somebody like John Boyega would hear and understand, oh, here's the mistake we're making. Coolest classics, Warrior, the film, 2011 film with Tom Hardy. Loved that movie. And then because I was in a fighting mood, I did Rocky 1 through 4 plus more. Then we did The Fighter with Christian Bale. And then there's a great episode called You Could Do It, Crowdfunding is Your Friend. Just recommending crowdfunding to everybody and try to guide people into crowdfunding. Then recommendation for Excalibur, another late bloomer movie that I saw that Digger turned me on to. And then the beginning of what we're doing now. It's the death of shared culture, how Hollywood killed myth and fractured the monoculture. And, this is the beginning of us turning that around. But that was April 30th of this year that I began to have this conversation about, they destroyed our culture and we need to bring it back. Then we did the coolest pick, Dark Side of the Ring. I talked last time about how much I love wrestling, behind the scenes stuff of wrestling. It's a great one. It's a great docuseries, me talking about that. WSJ's, Wall Street Journal's Marvel Makeover, Lies, Spin, and Kevin Feige Copium. Me talking about how these trade magazines cover. They do coverage for these fucking entertainment companies. It's so stupid. I'll mention again, coolest pick, The Resurrection of Jake the Snake, produced by Diamond Dallas Page. Love you, Diamond. Great one. Go watch it. It'll change your life. So good. Marvel's creative collapse, Ironheart, Thunderbolts, and the coming Avengers, Doomsday, and me talking about all the trouble that they were having. Then we did a celebration of In Living Color, the coolest sketch show alive. Fucking love In Living Color. Coolest classic, I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. Another great moment with Keenan Ivory Wayans. Then next week we came back with Spoon, the coolest tick alive, a celebration of justice, absurdity, and Ben Edlund, covering the comics, the animated stuff, and the live action stuff. I love the Tick. Tick is a big fandom of mine, starting with the animated series when I was a kid growing up. I'm 43 for those of you who don't know or are curious. I'm a 2-year-old at heart, clearly though, and I really am. I don't really think of myself as 43, but I mean that's where I am on the calendar. So then we did coolest pick, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, fucking awesome. Cobra Kai did what Disney couldn't, honor the fans, respect the story, just celebrating Cobra Kai. Then episode 200 with a lot of you guys listened to, The Signal Fire, why the establishment is afraid of me, and why my message really needs to get out there, the rebuilding the monoculture thing, and that's the whole message. And they did this on purpose, and just all of our music and all of our culture, it's so controlled by CIA and fucking think tanks and all these other things. It's true. I become a part of it, so I know how all of it has worked, and now I'm trying to build a new system so that we can rebuild the monoculture that we decide and we choose, but in the full knowing of this fucking stupid system that we're in. It's all conspiracy, man. 28 minutes. Oh, I forgot that episode's not super long, but that was the episode 200 celebration. Episode 201 was back to coolest pick. We had the Misfits season 1. Oh, I love the Misfits season 1. After that, it goes downhill, but it's great, and you might want to continue on with it. Then I did my Fuck Newsday personal retraction to that stupid Sunday feature that they did on Coolest Geek Live. Then I did an episode of The Wild Robot, fucking A, 2024 animated feature. It's great. Then Andor and Rogue One celebration, the only true great Disney Star Wars coolest pick special edition. Then we did the Wayne TV series, which I got into with my son, 2019's Wayne's show. I think Wayne was originally on YouTube. Not a lot of people saw it. The one season of Wayne is so fucking great. Then I had a great breakdown of Superman versus the Media Machine, why they need the new Superman to fail. Very interesting, especially as part of the whole conversation with what's been going on. Then coolest pick for Jurassic World Rebirth, which I really liked. I enjoyed Jurassic World Rebirth, although I hated the monster at the end. But still, mostly I enjoyed that movie. Then we did basically a recommendation of Superman, but it was Hope with an asterisk, Superman revisionism, and the fragile fire of belief. Do we recommend it? Don't we recommend it? I'm not sure. Coolest pick, F1 with Brad Pitt. Loved F1. Major expose of 50 million psyop, why Stephen Colbert was too useful to cancel. Go fucking listen to that. These late night shows, fucking terrible. They're just all mouthpieces for the establishment. Coolest pick, The Comeback Trail. Really like this high concept comedy gold, star-studded cast. I think it's Tommy Lee Jones is in it. Oh, it's great. Comeback Trail. Fantastic Four versus Superman. Who really had the better weekend at the box office? This is a breakdown of the Hollywood spin machine. It's really crazy. Then I did 28 Years Later and the 28 Later trilogy, coolest pick and classics. I recommend those movies. Coolest classic, Rustler's Rhapsody, spoof of classic westerns, hugely underrated. I love that movie. Highly recommend that. And then I did a breakdown continuing this story, the Fantastic Four versus Superman, the Jurassic Lie. Superman wins, Fantastic Four survives, and Jurassic World flops? How the fucking numbers don't exactly add up with what everybody's been saying. Then there's a great Gina Carano win celebration, plus MCU's broken creative process, Fantastic Four. Talked about a couple other things in relation. Coolest pick, Fist Fight with Charlie Day and Ice Cube. I love that one. Jillian Bell's in it. I love her as well. I think she's very funny. Jillian Bell, she's a chick from Workaholics. She's awesome. Workaholics I was getting into. I haven't been able to finish it, so I haven't made it as a recommendation, but I really like Workaholics. Bad Guys franchise. Perspective from a 10-year-old fan of the books. My son, I like the Bad Guys franchise. I don't get into it as much as my son does, but it's nice to be able to see him as somebody who enjoys the books and enjoys the movies. He does that episode in there. Coolest picks, comedy double feature, Spaghetti Man and Horrible Histories, the Mad Romans or something like that. Great. Really, really funny. What is it called? The Horrible Histories, the movie. Rotten Romans. That's what it's called. Horrible Histories, the movie. Very funny. Then I did a great breakdown of Disney's Boy Trouble, the Variety Report, Disney on the hunt for new male-driven intellectual property. You know, times they are changing. But then instant classic, I recommend Niza 2. Fucking amazing. Niza 1's okay. I recommend Niza 1. But Niza 2, oh man, what an incredible movie Niza 2 is. Before Invincible and Walking Dead, there was The Hidden Flame behind Robert Kirkman. The Hidden Flame behind Robert Kirkman. This is an episode celebrating Savage Dragon. I hid it underneath Robert Kirkman to celebrate the Savage Dragon, but this is it. This is my a second follow-up celebration the Savage Dragon episode. Highly recommend that. Then we got coolest pick, Nobody 2. I love Nobody, and I love Nobody 2. Fucking great movie. Mel Brooks celebration, his 6 best comedies, and a bonus film based on his life. Mel Brooks, highly recommend. Robert Redford celebration, honoring the dead with 11 classics to watch while in mourning. Then we did Coolest Alive, Jimmy Kimmel Free Speech Flip. That's a really cool episode of the show. Changing things around. It's like a second part to the Jimmy Kimmel episode that I'd recommend. Then we got One Battle After Another, Hollywood's Freedom Fighters Exposed, which is just a breakdown of that movie, not a recommendation of that movie. I think that movie sucks. Quentin Tarantino, coolest screenwriter alive, 13 best flicks. That's a great one to check out. K-pop Demon Hunters on Netflix. I love that. Really enjoyed that with my kids. That's a way to rebuild the monoculture as well. When your kids find shit that they love, try to get into shit that they love. James Gunn's DCU flops, Superman Lost Money, Peacemaker Season 2 tanks in the ratings. This is a little breakdown of that. Then we got into when things rebranded, we became Coolest Alive, and we started breaking down so many things. So I'll mention real quick, Flight of the Conchords, Told You I Was Freaky, the great album, one of my favorites of all time. Mouse, one of the greatest graphic novels of all time. The Rock with Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage, one of the greatest Jerry Bruckheimer movies. Love that one. The Hobbit, J.R. Tolkien's classic book. Love that book. Talked about adding music into the show. Punky Brewster, very, very funny concept album. A death metal band resorts to punk in desperation because they're getting booed off the stage. Really cool. Generally, I think you might only be able to find it on YouTube now. Punky Brewster, cooked on phonics. Disney Animation, The Sword and the Stone. We did Robin Hood as well. One of the greatest graphic novels ever, Craven's Last Hunt, which is Spider-Man, one of the great Spider-Man stories. Great live action film. Recently made Fight or Flight with Josh Hartnett. I really like that. It was the coolest pick for 2025. Talked about the mobile card game Marvel Snap that I love. Talked about Fortnite that I love playing with my kids. Listed the 13 scariest movies I've ever seen, period. That's an episode. Sugar Ray Lemonade and Brownies. I fucking love them. Disney's Robin. Well, I love that album in particular. Disney's Robin Hood. I said Iron Man, The Man in the Iron Man by Joe Quesada. One of the best graphic novels of Iron Man that you can read. You can go pick that one up. Brilliantly illustrated, and the story is awesome. Iron Man, The Man in the Iron Man by Joe Quesada. We talked about Mel Gibson's Payback, the theatrical, the director's cut. Watch them both. They're all great. Talked about Pikmin 3 Deluxe. I fucking love Pikmin. We did our Deadpool celebration, celebrating who was really behind the awesomeness of Deadpool. We did Local H, Here Comes the Zoo. Great fucking album by Local H. They're a great band in general, but Here Comes the Zoo is a really standout. Talked about Brad Bird's Iron Giant animated film. I love that. The Sentry, and I'll even mention The Inhumans by Paul Jenkins and Jay Lee. They're brilliant creative team. Live action Richard Pryor and John Candy's Brewster's Millions. I've never seen it, but it's awesome. I just saw it recently. Great. I mentioned Fortnite. Gremlins 3, we had a speculation party, talk about all the cool things that they could do. We did Dee Snider's Heaviest Rage, Stand By for Pain, the Widowmaker album, which so few people know. I'm really excited for more people to hear that. Animation Batman, Mask of the Phantasm. Dude, oh my God. If you like fucking Batman animated series, the Phantasm, and some of the animated films they made were even better. One of the greatest graphic novels I've ever read, Torso. It's like the Seven of graphic novels. It's so good, and based on a real, true America's first serial killer. Then we got Monty Python's fifth movie, Yellowbeard. I fucking loved Yellowbeard. Again, another one that I saw recently that I love. I've been on a run recently of seeing things that I hadn't seen and like I always wanted to watch, like Logan's Run, which we'll get to in a second, which I loved. And like, oh wow, I always wanted to watch it, and it turns out it was great. Then musical, the greatest musical of all time, Little Shop of Horrors. See it as a stage musical; it will blow your fucking mind. It's also the greatest movie musical, but watch the director's cut. Better. Then we did the Critters celebration. Fucking awesome. I love the Critters franchise. Shit's great. Animation. We did Wreck-It Ralph. For another album, we did The Distillers, Coral Fang. And we did, one of my favorite little prestige format graphic novels, The Flash, Iron Heights by Jeff Johns and Ethan Van Sciver. Fucking awesome. And then we got Rogue, greatest killer croc movie ever made, we think maybe. And then next week I came back with even more of that. We did Teeth Week with Boar, Lake Placid, Blackwater, Prey from 2007's Lion Attack movie, Burning Bright, and the Jaws episode, 13 greatest killer shark movies ever made. Great ones. We talked about Legend of Zelda, the original Nintendo game that started it all. We had, just a few weeks ago, our Rebuilding the Monoculture listener celebration for Thanksgiving, where I was thankful for you guys. Ultimately, again, leading to this whole thing here that we're doing today, and as part 2, which I think I might just release these as like part 1 and part 2, and you guys can just break it up. So we got music, British Spinal Tap, Bad News. The British Spinal Tap, Bad News. Fucking awesome. I talked about that. Funniest movie ever, Netflix Storks. I fucking love that movie. Kevin Smith's Daredevil run, awesome. You can go listen to that full episode on Daredevil if you go back into the older episodes. Live action, we talk about the glory of Shin Godzilla, fucking awesome. Stand-up comedian, my favorite of all time, Eddie Izzard. Let's Rumble by Love Hate was last week's album. They're kind of Megadeth-ish. Most charming stop motion ever, Wes Anderson's Fantastic Mr. Fox. I love that one. Or how about the graphic novel Girls by the Luna Brothers? Or live action Logan's Run, which still holds up fucking awesome. I forget what my Friday episode is that's going to be releasing tomorrow, but I'll see here in a second. So now what we're going to do, so like those are all the episodes that you could check out, right? And there are more episodes in that L-E-A-P-P-L-E. Okay. There are more episodes in that there is also my All Your Favorite Bands Suck podcast, okay? And I'm going to go through just all the bands that are covered over there, like so you just have like a little list like read to you right here. And then I'm going to go into, just getting a little stir crazy here. I've been chatting for a little while. And I'm going to go into my notes for the coming episodes of the show, things that like I haven't gotten into yet, but I plan to. So if you want to check out the bands that I have covered, if any of these bands sound awesome to you, somewhere between like a half an hour to an hour and a half sometimes of me talking about Blink 182. There's also a bunch of Christmas music that you can find as well if you want to find out some great Christmas music. Audio Slave, The Living End, Power Man 5000, who's like an industrial type band like Marilyn Manson or Nine Inch Nails. Exhibit, who's a rapper. All American Rejects, who's like a pop punk band. Fun, who's a pop band. Randy Newman, who's a comedy pop. The Sherman Brothers, who are, they've done lots of music for Disney, and they're just like really like folk music, you would almost call them or whatever. Newfound Glory is a great punk band. Maximum the Hormone, amazing Japanese band that's like really mixes a lot of different styles into their stuff. Jimmy Chicken Shack, unsung band from the fucking 90s, who was very versatile, still really great. Jimmy Ha Ha, great, talented dude. Everclear, Bloodhound Gang, Avenged Sevenfold, Anti-Flag, Megadeth, Alice in Chains, Kix is a great band. Trey Parker and Matt Stone, South Park, Team America, Book of Mormon, covering their music that they've written. Sum 41, Nathaniel Radcliffe and the Night Sweats, love him. Beastie Boys, DMX, Nine Inch Nails, Green Day, love DMX. Stone Temple Pilots, love Stone Temple Pilots. Akon, Flight of the Conchords, Rise Against, Good Charlotte, Little Richard, Kid Rock, the Detroit Cobras, the Transplants, Rancid, Howard Ashman, is Little Shop of Horrors, Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid, and Aladdin, and some other things that most people have never heard of. Howard Ashman is one of my favorite musicians of all time, who's ever lived. Tenacious D, Dee Snider and Twisted Sister, including his other projects that a lot of people don't know about. Rob Zombie, 311, plus thoughts on most music critics and why they suck. The Lonely Island, Collective Soul, B.O.B., Bobby Ray, love B.O.B., My Chemical Romance, Nickelback, They Rule, You Suck, Fight Me, Weird Al Yankovic, Motorhead, 50 Cent and G-Unit, Trans-Siberian Orchestra, covered for Christmas, Marilyn Manson, Rage Against the Machine, The Offspring, and an introduction to me with all your favorite bands stuff with Jesse Blaze Snyder, where I just kind of like talk about my kind of taste in music and things like that. But these are all available through this other show, okay? My Esoteric Wisdom Show doesn't have like shared monoculture stuff. Like if you want to get into my Esoteric Wisdom Show, start from the beginning, everything they don't want you to know. It begins with teaching the principles of Hermeticism. And when you understand what they are, you'll understand why it's a focus because it's sort of like just like the natural laws of the universe that are going on about the exchange of energies and things like this. I highly recommend, if you really want to get to know me deeply and well and really understand where I'm coming from and trying to change the world for the better, all the things that I'm dealing with, you should listen to Everything They Don't Want You to Know. If you do, go to check out Everything They Don't Want You to Know, which I do recommend. I would tell you to really just kind of start from the beginning. But if you want an idea of the conversations being had over there, I'll start from the beginning. We're about 55 episodes into our show, but it starts off with all of the Hermetic universal laws. An introduction from an atheist to a theist. I was an atheist, and now I know that there's a lot more going on. The law of oneness, mentalism, polarity, vibration, relativity, law and principle of gender, perpetual transmutation of energy, weather control was a special report, divine timing and the universal law of inspired action, prayer and the law of cause and effect, momentum and the law of rhythm, your health and the law of correspondence, Trump was a special report. Is anything possible? The law of infinite compensation, law of attraction, the whole secret, meaning of life and the law of attraction, part 2, special report, aliens, UFOs and USOs, submersible. Everything They Don't Want You to Know, Christmas message, Hollywood Fires, special episode, sheep and wolves in sheep clothing, DEI, LGBTQ+, RFK Jr., law of attraction and action on prayer, rain dancing, the placebo, visualization, a positive mental attitude, and more. Gratitude, reincarnation. These are all episodes all about gratitude, reincarnation, the illusion of control, astrology, the Beatles, picking sides, homework, the suffering industrial complex, homelessness, prison, foster care, healthcare, addiction, obesity, war, charity, and the debt slavery system. The war for your attention, the rigged system, and the war against the middle class. Another episode, Fighting Fire with Fire. Don't do that. Another episode, Enlightenment. Another, Religion and Hierarchy. Another, Why They Destroyed Geek Culture. Another, The Media Matrix. Another, Everything is Nothing, The Real Truth of All Creation, What They Never Wanted You to Remember. Everything They Don't Want You to Know, Bigfoot, Aliens, and Other Cryptids. There's No Such Thing as Crazy episode, covering all mental illnesses, psychic phenomenon, possession, and the American Asylum conspiracy. Then we did the multiverse of every authentic choice we did not make. Then we did the raw material, the law of one, magic, why woo-woo actually works, crystals, aura, tarot, Reiki, and more. That was a popular episode. The Archon scam, why demons and devils have no power without you. Then we did an episode on faith, the inevitable lesson alongside living in the now and loving others. And then we did The Fountain of Youth, Tibetan 5 Rites, and Diet, and more. That's a really important one. Then we did Frequency, Binaural Beats, Sound Healing, and more while we were talking about the my music album that I was putting out. So it was just a good time to talk about it. The Disappearing Words, How Censorship is Rewriting Reality. Nothing gets on TV unless it's supposed to be there. It's a good episode. The Moon, great episode. Possession You Consented To, Halloween Aftercare 2025. After Halloween, I did an aftercare episode. How I Changed. It's an episode of all from a straight edge, skeptic, atheist, activist to one of the most open minds on earth. Love, the only true motivation for anything. Last two episodes, one was on the Dome. Yeah, you heard me. And then we did one special report, 3 Atlas, a.k.a. Project Bullshit, a.k.a. Project Bluebeam. If any of those things are subjects that you are interested in, I recommend you go check out this show. Okay, that's everything they don't want you to know. So now we are coming to the me giving you all my cards, man. So I'm in the coolest alive section here, and I think I'll break up the music one too. And for you music lovers, you can get some extra music recommendations towards the end. But we are going to do this. Coming up, things that I am planning on recommending. Let's see. This was Love Hate. Friday I did Riffs, my favorite RPG of all time, pen and paper role playing game. I'm going to be playing some Riffs with my brothers and kids when they're here for Christmas. I'm excited about that. Next week I'm going to be doing an album from a band called Silvertide. Fucking awesome. It's like their one album, and they're really great, underrated band that didn't make it. Thinking about the Puss in Boots, The Last Wish. I really like that. And then a graphic novel called Batman, Son of the Demon. Live action, there's a movie called Pinball, The Man Who Saved the Game that Digger had recommended. I liked it quite a bit. And then I want to do that wild card on comedian Bobcat Goldthwait, who I had the cassette tape that I used to listen to when I was a kid. So these are lists of things that I most recently watched. I'm probably going to end up doing something on the Diddy documentary. I'll probably end up doing something on Being Eddie. I'll probably end up doing something on Exists, the Bigfoot flick. It's a good one. In animation, these are all the things that I did already. Monsters, Inc., Tangled, the Lego Movie, are these the ones that I'm going to do? Yeah, these are the ones that I want to do. Monsters, Inc., Tangled, the Lego Movie. Coming over the next couple years. Monsters, Inc., Tangled, the Lego Movie, Aladdin, South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, Little Mermaid. If you want to watch these movies, you'll be a little closer to me. If you have already seen them, you already are a little closer to me. Little Mermaid, Titan AE, Beauty and the Beast, Hulk versus Wolverine, Hulk versus Thor, Coco, Peter Pan, Meet the Robinsons, The Rescuers Down Under, Fox and the Hound, A Goofy Movie, The Road to El Dorado, A Bug's Life, James and the Giant Peach, Over the Hedge, The Jungle Book, Pinocchio, Sleeping Beauty, Lilo and Stitch, Hercules, The Lion King, Toy Story Celebration, WALL-E, Fantasia, and Fantasia 2000, The Incredibles, Inside Out 1 and 2, Ratatouille, Finding Nemo, Up, Big Hero 6, Winnie the Pooh, Fern Gully, The Princess and the Frog, Encanto, Dumbo, Claus, Bolt, The Simpsons Movie, Lady and the Tramp, 101 Dalmatians, Bambi, Shrek, Soul, Moana, Rango, cartoons that I love that'll eventually get recommended. Avatar: The Last Airbender, Batman the Animated Series, Rick and Morty, Adventure Time, Futurama, Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry, Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?, The Flintstones, and I mean the original Tom and Jerry, the original Looney Tunes, Dexter's Laboratory, Hey Arnold, Rugrats, Rocko's Modern Life, Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brain, Freakazoid, Tiny Toon Adventures, DuckTales, Darkwing Duck, Tailspin, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, Gargoyles, X-Men the Animated Series. Some of these I covered in like some of the episodes in like major formats, but I was going to give individual attention to every one of them. Spider-Man the Animated Series, X-Men the Animated Series, Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, Teen Titans, Young Justice, Spectacular Spider-Man, Family Guy, early seasons, The Venture Brothers, Metalocalypse, Arcane, Love, Death, and Robots, What If Season 1, Invader Zim, Ren and Stimpy Pre-Adult Party Era, Real Monsters, My Hero Academia, One Punch Man, Chainsaw Man, Bluey, Inspector Gadget, The Real Ghostbusters, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Celebration, Beast Wars, Transformers, Pokemon, Sailor Moon, Muppet Babies, Care Bears, Star Wars The Clone Wars, Star Wars The Bad Batch. Things I love. For music, there's things that are coming up, and I'm like I said, I'm going to get into some more. But Skid Row, The F-Ups, The Explosion, The Mercurial, The Blues Brothers, Van Helsing's Curse, Die Antwoord, Slave to the Grind, Desperado, Demon Knight soundtrack, Spawn soundtrack, Strangeland soundtrack, The Crow soundtrack, Widowmaker, Blood and Bullets, Twisted Sister, You Can't Stop Rock and Roll, Rage Against the Machine's debut album, Tenacious D's first album. Comic books, I'm planning The Sword from the Luna Brothers, but I'll probably wait a little while. Brian Michael Bendis' Jinx and Goldfish, but I'll probably wait a minute. Ed Brubaker's Criminal, fucking love that one. Batman 3 Jokers from Jeff Johns. Batman the Killing Joke from from Alan Moore. Green Lantern Sinestro Corps War and the Green Lantern, like the whole fucking Jeff Johns Green Lantern saga. I'm going to do it in a bunch of pieces probably. Inhumans by Paul Jenkins and Jay Lee. I mentioned that. In the movies category, I have a list of Sylvester Stallone movies like First Blood. We talked about Rocky, Demolition Man. Lock Up's a great one. Escape Plan. Tom Cruise movies, Mission Impossible 3, Top Gun, Legend, Tropic Thunder, The Last Samurai, Edge of Tomorrow, War of the Worlds, Minority Report, Collateral, Val Kilmer, I didn't mention these ones, but Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Tombstone, Real Genius, Willow, Top Gun, Batman Forever, Ghost in the Darkness, I love that. Heat, True Romance, Kurt Russell, Overboard, Big Trouble in Little China, The Thing, Hateful Eight, Escape from New York and L.A., Tombstone, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Christmas Chronicles, Miracle, Backdraft, he's a good Santa. I like his Christmas Chronicles. Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, Predator, Terminator 2, Total Recall, Kindergarten Cop, The Running Man, Terminator. I don't know why I have these lists of these movies that I like. Killing Gunther, True Lies, Pumping Iron. Killing Gunther was fun. Mel Gibson, Braveheart, Payback, Apocalypto, We Were Soldiers, The Patriot, Get the Gringo, Mad Max, Heartbreak Ridge, Maverick, Edge of Darkness, Lethal Weapon 1 through 4, or soon, What Women Want, Daddy's Home 2. Fucking love Mel Gibson. There's more Mel Gibson movies that I've seen since too that aren't on that list. Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man, Tropic Thunder, Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Sherlock Holmes, Iron Man 2, Weird Science, Charlie Bartlett, Captain America Civil War, Avengers. Bonus, Stallone and Schwarzenegger. Crossover noted separately. Demolition Man, Escape Plan. I don't know. Favorite movies, Master List. The Princess Bride, Tombstone, Iron Man in the Marvel movies, Rockies 1 through 4, Cool Hand Luke, A League of Their Own. Love that. I love Cool Hand Luke. Blade 2, Gremlins 2, The Lord of the Rings. This is like kind of like my old favorite movies list, like in order. The Lord of the Rings, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, Old Boy, Willow, True Romance. Love True Romance. Predator, The Hateful Eight, Big Trouble, Little China, First Blood, Legend with Tom Cruise, Lethal Weapon, Tropic Thunder, When Harry Met Sally, Real Genius, The Ghost in the Darkness, The Thing, Aliens, The Fifth Element, Guardians of the Galaxy, Gremlins, District 9, Memento, Planet of the Apes, the new trilogy, Jurassic Park, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Overboard, The Money Pit, Slapshot, Crawl, Monty Python and the Holy Grail, 147 Hours, Marx Brothers movies, The Host, Walk Hard, Man's Best Friend in 1993, books, I want to cover Big Trouble, Lord of the Rings when I'm done with it, Marathon Man. These are just I haven't been making these lists very long because this is like the list of like my wild card stuff. But documentaries and series, Extreme Engineering, Hell's Kitchen, MasterChef and Junior, Mythbusters, Penn and Teller's Bullshit, Penn and Teller's Fool Us, Games, Zelda Breath of the Wild, Mario Party, Real Dead Redemption, Super Smash Brothers, Plays, Beauty and the Beast, Avenue Q, RPGs, AD&D, After the Bomb, Heroes Unlimited, Nightbane, Palladium. I want to do a Royal Rumble celebration. And that's really like the big thing too, like, because I got episode ideas, and this will be like where the final bit of like all of my fandoms kind of spill out, because this is all the stuff that I covered. Animation, these are all the things I covered. Coolest Alive, coolest film. Okay, so coolest picks for the main show in the future. I will do a Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul episode, a Planet of the Apes originals and new trilogy, like a Planet of the Apes celebration, a Disney's Gargoyles celebration, The Wire, HBO's Wire season 5 celebration, a celebration of that show, and it's one of the greatest shows of all time. Celebration of Deadwood, 3 seasons in the film. A celebration of The Shield, all 6 seasons. The Shield's one of the greatest series ever. Celebration of Avatar: The Last Airbender, the animated series, one of the greatest series ever. Celebration of Robert Rodriguez, and specifically Desperado, El Mariachi, Once Upon a Time in Mexico, and maybe just touching on some other wonderful aspects of his career. Christopher Nolan film celebration, Guillermo del Toro film celebration, Lord of the Rings trilogy celebration, Twin Peaks celebration, Ninja Turtles toys, animated originals, and film celebration, Deadpool films, comics, and Joe Kelly celebration, which I already did that one. I did that one. I didn't do Turtles yet. A Hulk celebration, whether it's movies, animation, comic books, anything. Lobo celebration, the same. Dick Grayson celebration. Preacher comic book celebration. Black Panther celebration of that character in the great comics and so much great shit. Animal Man celebration. Love that character, one of my favorite characters in comics. The Thing and the Fantastic Four celebration. A Lunar Brothers celebration. Girls and the Sword and Ultra, which I'm going to be getting to them singularly. But maybe eventually I'll do something on all of their stuff. Jeff Johns celebration. A Grant Morrison celebration, a Warren Ellis celebration, a Chuck Dixon celebration, a Paul Jenkins celebration. For those of you who don't know, those are all brilliant comic book writers who have contributed immensely to the art form. A Brian Bolin celebration, an Art Adams celebration, a Dale Keown celebration, a Jeff Darrow celebration, all incredible artists who have contributed to the art form. Also, Brian Michael Bendis, celebrate his greatness, and J. Michael Strigninski and his greatness, and Alan Moore's greatness, and Frank Miller's greatness, an X-Men celebration, a Care Bears celebration, a Power Rangers Rest in Peace JDF party, a Wrestling and Royal Rumble celebration, Steven Seagal movie celebration, the work of Mel Gibson celebration, work of Paul Newman celebration, an Eddie Izzard comedy celebration, Scott Brothers films, Tony Scott and what's the other Scott? Ridley Scott celebration. They're brilliant. There's also some other ones that I've wanted to cover. Girls for Five Ever. I just haven't finished the show. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. They Clone Tyrone. Everything Everywhere All at Once. Stranger Than Fiction. Edge of Tomorrow. District 9. My Name is Dolomite. Moon. Coolest Classics. Saturday. I've got The Warriors. I want to do Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I want to do Braveheart. I want to do Pan's Labyrinth. I want to do The Sting. Playmakers. A single season of a TV series that the NFL made them cancel because it was hitting too close to home. I said Titan AE already. Hudson Hawk. One of my favorite movies that lots of people hate. War of the Worlds I mentioned earlier, and some movies that I gotta watch. But that's it. That's all of my favorite things that I want. Are there maybe some more comic book artists and some more comic book writers that I might be able to add to this list, and maybe I will someday? But this is it. This is behind the scenes. Everything. You now have everything that I was ever going to tell you on the show. You could just go off and take this list and run away and never have to deal with me ever again. But next time I see you, me and you will be in cahoots about the monoculture. Right? Right? That's what I'm hoping. My company's trying to rebuild the monoculture. You can go to blacklightdistrict.studio and you can listen to music free and read comics for free and a lot of really cool stuff there. We're going to be building it as a hub where creative people can go and meet and figure out how to collaborate on music and collaborate on comics and whatever it is that you might want to collaborate on. We want to be the center of all this kind of, just the future, the new wave of brilliant creative people that I know are going to be coming to take over this planet and give us some of the greatest movies and TV and comics and everything that we've ever had before. And those people are going to come because they bothered to read books and listen to people like me who really care about this stuff, talk about it and why it's important and why these things are important enough to remember. I hope that at least some of the things that I've been mentioning, you already have heard of those things, you know about those things, and you feel more bonded to me now because we've shared it. And I know I wasn't there with you, but feel free to write to me, jbs@blacklightdistrict.studio. I'll know that we are rebuilding the monoculture if you say, I'm in. Write to me, jbs@blacklightdistrict.studio. #rebuild the monoculture. I'm in. Tell me you're in. Let me know you're in. If you want to volunteer to help to be a part of Sugar and Bones magazine and the things that Blacklight District Studio is doing to preserve the monoculture and, basically start collecting, cataloging the greatest comics of all time, the greatest everything in entertainment of all time. I want there to be a place where these things don't get lost. There's all this wonderful stuff, and somebody should be keeping an eye out. And that's what I'm going to try to do. Anyway, I am going to rest. I did this thing, and I think I'm actually going to release the whole thing as just one whole thing, even though it's like a crazy 2-hour whatever. But I mean, that's it. That's the show. I love you. If you made it all the way here, I love you. I hope you'll listen to everything they don't want you to know. I hope you got like a long list of things that you're going to go check out. I hope you feel like all motivated, excited to get into some sort of new fandom. I love to be a part of the culture in this way. And I'm so glad that you guys are with me. And, like there is somebody for me to share this stuff with. And I just can't wait to meet you all in the future at concerts and things and be able to quote movies to each other. And, you'll let me know that you're a Monty Python fan as you walk up and say, nee. And I'll know I'm amongst my brothers and my sisters. So thank you. Thank you guys for affording me this platform and for listening to the show and for helping me to build this thing into the fucking 1.3 million downloads a month juggernaut that my suite of shows are. This show alone gets like 850,000 downloads a month. It's amazing. It's incredible. Like, can't do it without you. Can't have a show without this audience. And I don't want to do this show unless we're rebuilding this monoculture. So please, I invite you, rebuild this monoculture with me. If you want to be a part of it for real, write me, jbs@blacklightdistrict.studio, and tell me, I want to join, I want to help. And otherwise, just say, I'm in. Okay? Anyway, I love you guys. I hope you have the greatest Christmas of all time. I hope Santa brings you everything that you want, and I hope it's a fabulous new year, and that you're with the people that you love, and you're getting the things that you need from this world. Really do. Hope that for you all. I love you so much. Thank you for listening to my show, Care Bear Stare. And I hope you'll join me in the new year for another fucking awesome episode of The Coolest Alive. Peace out. May this new year bring you everything you've ever wanted.
You've been listening to Coolest Geek Alive with me, your host, Jesse Blaze Snyder. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe for more excellent geek culture content. Thanks for listening.
It's my favorite part. Isn't that heavy? I played that. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Coolest alive. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Stay with your tribe. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Revenge of the Geeks. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Week after weeks. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Laughing with you. It's gonna be fucking awesome. And crying sometimes too. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Spelling it out. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Making you shout. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Talking some shit. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Living legit. My voice is gonna be fucking awesome. Food in our mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Get in the mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Tell all your friends. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Call right or text. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Raising the bar. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Straight to the stars. It's gonna be fucking awesome. It's starting soon. Straight to the top. Passing the moon. It's gonna be fucking awesome. On with the show. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Ready, set, go. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Fucking awesome. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Just wait. You'll see. You'll all see. You'll all see.
The podcast playground.